Hello, all you theater lovers, both out and proud and on the DL, and welcome back to Broadway Breakdown, a podcast discussing the history and legacy of American theater's most exclusive address, Broadway. I am your host, Matt Koplik, the least famous and most opinionated of all the Broadway podcast hosts, and this is our last deep dive before the podcast goes on a hiatus for a while. I'm so sorry, but with us today is a friend of the pod. He has not been on in such a long time due to his busy schedule and honestly not finding a show worthy of his brain until now. So please welcome back Mr. Brian Nash. Hi, Brian.
Oh, hi, Matt. How are you?
I'm great. It's so good to see your dumb gay face.
It is gay and it is dumb and it is jet lagged as shit, but that's fine.
Well, I wasn't going to say anything because then you would have to say something about how I look right now.
This lighting is homophobic. I'm sitting basically directly in a sunbeam that is making everything look so gray. Girl, it's a lot.
You look very distinguished.
Sure, we'll say that.
We haven't had you on in almost 4 years.
That's terrifying.
Because you were on for the Hamilton episode, which we recorded in November of 2022.
Why do you remember that date, Matt?
Oh, Brian. Yeah, I think I mentioned this on the pod a little bit, but yeah, we can, without giving too much away, we'll just say, if you guys ever want to debate just how much energy I put up, the day that Brian and I recorded the Hamilton episode, I was extremely going through it. And if you want to re-listen to it and try to clock any moments that maybe I'm going through it, I don't think you can tell. I put up a really good front. The only thing is that my mom comes in the middle of recording to give me food. And that wasn't her being like, sorry to interrupt, I'm your mother. It was genuinely, I had not eaten for 24 hours. And she was like, you have a friend in front of you, you're on a microphone. I will listen back to the audio and know if you ate or not.
So the Hamilton episode, which is also very, very long.
Yes.
Matt is putting on the bravest of faces, borderline in tears for half of it, and housing French toast.
Pretty much, yeah. Which is honestly perfect for the episode we're talking about today. But yeah. And I probably will connect it a little bit to that time. I think I told you everything like right before we went on mic, and it's just like seeing your face go gaunt, and I'm like, okay, so Schuyler sisters, and you're like,
Sure. Are we still talking about Burn? Are we talking about that song? Or are we just skipping it? Let's just skip it. We're
skipping it. But yeah, I think this will be what is ultimately a more intense show, but I think we're both in a lighter place for it. So
I sincerely fucking hope so.
Yeah. But Brian, what are we talking about today?
We are talking about Next to Normals, which is a musical by Tom Kitt and Brian Yorkey. Broadway season 08?
Yeah. 08 to 09, yeah.
08 to 09 season, yeah.
Yeah. I will do more of the deep dive on that in just a second. Before we do any of that, I have two major things I have to do. One is a new review that we got on Apple Podcasts. So please cue the Light in the Piazza overture. 5 stars. You're a star, Matt. There's a comma there. I can't get enough of Broadway Breakdown. Thank you for all the theatrical insight you share and for the labor of love that is podcasting. I credit you with my Tony ballot prediction win in my friend group. Bless you for that. You're welcome. So remember, guys, when it comes to Tony time, this is the key podcast to listen to if you want to get a good ballot in your Tony party.
You should get a cut.
You know what she can do? She can join the Patreon, the Broadway Breakdown Green Room, $5 a month. This is a great time to remind you all.
Mm-hmm. See, that's the thing. Like, if you should do a Patreon, like a paywall thing where you house the Tony predictions behind that.
Well, the Patreon is very brand new. She's a little old baby right now. She's younger than Gabe was when he died, and so spoiler for. I guess now's a good time to say spoilers for Next to Normal, but
sure.
Yeah, as the Patreon continues, we're figuring out more of like just how much content will be on there and what will be excluded from the main feed. At the moment, what we're doing is just episodes early and then 2 exclusive episodes a month. One is a cast party Q&A with me, and the other is our Green Room Roundtable where we do rankings, which you know about because you contributed to that one. And then the one after that is going to be Best Actress in a Musical Tony Fantasy League or Fantasy Draft. So yeah, going to be certain categories and everybody's going to make their picks. It's going to be so faggy, but it's going to be delicious.
God damn it, Matt.
Yeah, I think I want to make sure you're there for that one.
Gay! Yes, yes.
Well, because
yes.
you're going to have some choices, and I love it.
Certainly, I always do.
But also, last thing, big news. As of a week and a half ago, I am officially a voter for the Drama Desk Awards. Woo!
Yes. Oh, God help us all.
Listen, the establishment needs my taste. It really does. If you were underwhelmed by some of the winners at the Tonys this year, at some of the Drama Desk winners, guess who's coming in to shake shit up? Me and Jennifer Ashley Tepper. But I think the two of us combined are enough to really make things, shake the system a bit.
Did they only allow the two of you in, or were there more?
I think there were more. I just know she was. Anyway, so next to normal.
Sure.
So next to normal for the Uncultured Fucks, this is via MTI, they who licensed the show. They write, Dad's an architect. Mom rushes to pack lunches and pour cereal. Their daughter and son are bright, wisecracking teens, appearing to be a typical American family. And yet, their lives are anything but normal, not even next to normal, because the mother has been battling bipolar disorder for 16 years. Next to Normal takes audiences into the minds and hearts of each character, presenting their family story with love, sympathy, and heart. I mean, it's not totally an inaccurate description, but it is an interesting way to open.
What in the CW sitcom is this? What the fuck?
Yeah.
Dad's an Also, leading with Dan is really a choice. Dad's an architect. Is he? Do we ever see him at work? Is that ever mentioned? Not once.
Yeah, well, because she keeps taking him away from work.
Yeah. The only time is like when she talks about them both being undergrads.
Yeah.
That is literally the only time. It's like, I thought I'd be too busy. That's it. That is the only time architecture is ever mentioned.
Yeah, it's a vibe to open with that. But there are no lies necessarily in all of that. It's a weird way to word it all. So, Brian, how did Next Normal enter your chat?
Next to Normal entered my chat in a very weird way. Okay, picture it. 2006, maybe? I was on a gay family Rosie O'Donnell cruise.
That is a 2006 sentence.
Yep, pretty much. And as was typical of the company was called Our Family. So it was for gays and lesbians and their multi-ethnic babies. This was very cute. And because it was Rosie involved and kind of spearheading it, there were so many Broadway folk on board. So 2006, that particular cruise, Alice Ripley and Emily Skinner were doing a late night cabaret in the lounge.
Okay.
Skinner had just done workshops of Little Mermaid. So she did Poor Unfortunate Souls, which was great. Alice did a number from this show she'd just done a reading of that was hoping to come to Broadway that I think was still being called Feeling Electric at that point.
Yeah.
So, and I think I clearly don't have a recording of it, but I think she did I Miss the Mountains. That's kind of what I remember. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's cute. And then my boyfriend at the time proposed to me later that evening on the front of the ship, and I felt cornered, and I said yes, even though I didn't want to.
And I oop. Okay.
And I oop. So that is the first time I heard anything from the Next to Normals. And then saw I didn't see it off Broadway. I saw the transfer. So I saw original cast, and then I saw when Brian went in. And that's it for the Broadway production. And then we'll get into later stuff later on. How did it enter your chat, Matt?
Well, Brian, thank you for asking. As you know, I am a theater fan. Shocking. But I had been from an early age, and even as a kid was interested in the business side of stuff, would read the grosses, would read the trades. My dad got me a weekly subscription to Variety because I was so annoying about it. And my first knowledge of Next to Normal was a review in Variety for the second stage production, which had a photo of Alice Ripley holding the birthday cake and Brian Darcy James next to her. And a lot of reviews were very big about don't spoil the show, don't spoil the show. And unfortunately, you can't really talk about the show without spoiling it. It's one of those things where it is a great twist and it's done early enough, but it does make it difficult to talk about the show with people who don't know it, because you're to talk about the themes and not undersell it, you have to talk about what the themes are tied to. Anyway, So the review was like a little vague, and it was talking about how like there was a show there, but it didn't work yet. And it was, a genuine rock musical, and Spring Awakening had just come out. So everyone was like, oh, this might be like the next Spring Awakening show. There was a feeling that they could transfer it to Broadway that same season. Because, In the Heights and Passing Stranger are obviously going to be like the critical darlings, but no one really thought that Xanadu was going to do well. That sort of surprised people, and everyone was sort of like, Crybaby who, and but Next to Normal ended up not doing that, so Crybaby became the fourth Tony nominee. And so the big thing with Next to Normal that was surprising, that I remember everyone was talking about in the trades, was it was the first off-Broadway show that had buzz, that rather than go to Broadway went out of town and then to Broadway. It was sort of like a switcheroo that didn't really happen before. And so it was this really interesting thing of they go to Arena the following fall and it comes to Broadway, and then it just like blows up the way that it did. So I saw it on Broadway, and I remembered being a little whelmed by it at the time. I was in the front row. It was right after it had opened, and I just wasn't super taken with it. And I'm a very big proponent of like, I only stand when I'm really feeling like I saw something that hit me. And so I didn't stand. I applauded. I looked up, I smiled, and I was in the front row. So like Alice Ripley saw me, and she absolutely like gave me a death glare. And it's one of my prouder moments. And I kind of put it away. I have bought into it a lot more since then, and it's primarily due to a specific production that got a pro shot recently, and we'll talk about that a little bit. But I think it's sort of the interesting thing for me of this pro shot has not only revitalized the show's relevance, but has created like an even more fervent fan base than the first time around. Because the first time around, it was an intense fan base, and was maybe, along with Spring Awakening, like an early indicator of like the parasocial relationships that fans and actors had to like maneuver, like yeah. And so I think I also stayed clear of the show because even though in addition to not loving it, I just didn't like the vibe of the fandom. But anyway, yeah. So that's my whole history with Next to Normal. So when you got to see it on the Broadway, what was your feeling?
I loved it. I thought it was gorgeous. I thought it was devastating. I loved the performances. I thought the staging was pretty incredible. It took a friend who got obsessed with it. He saw it, I think, 7 times in various permutations of the cast. And so I love a rock musical. I am a rent girly from way back. I fully slept out on the street several times to see that damn show, including in a Chicago winter to see Anthony Rapp in it.
You are, those who don't understand, Brian is a dedicated person.
I see things.
Well, anyone who follows you on Instagram, and if you don't do it now, you'll know that this is a boy who follows Tori Amos around everywhere.
Well, okay, so we can discuss that as well. So I was unfamiliar with the parasocial fandom of Next to Normal just because I wasn't about the message boards or anything at that point. I'd kind of like ducked out of that. And so I didn't know how bad it had gotten. But if you know Tori Amos, that is also an angsty fan base, and people who tend to kind of tap into deeply emotional subject matter that tackles some pretty intense topics knows that fan base is going to kind of glom onto the person who's creating that in a very intense way. So it is unsurprising to me that the fandom of a musical about a woman with bipolar disorder and suicidal tendencies is going to be pretty intense.
Yeah, it got very bad. That and Spring Awakening are the two fan bases of my youth that I just remember getting so turned off by. And I think were instrumental to me as a teenager of making sure I didn't become that. Because a lot of those were people I knew who were acting that kind of way. I just didn't like that kind of energy. I remember thinking to myself, I want to do this one day, or at least I want to be a part of this world one day. I can't do that and fucking stalk Jennifer Damiano. Like, that's not who I am. I don't desire to know what fucking yogurt shop Aaron Tveit goes to on Wednesdays. Like, who cares? Who the fuck cares? Yeah, so that was always my thing that I think also like kind of kept me away from him. But yeah, shows like Next Normal, these shows that seem to be about the underdog in some respect, that deal with isolation and depression and loneliness and this idea of being on the edge and almost going too far but finding your way back. The people who struggle with those things every day are always looking for some sort of connection, some sort of identification. And when they find it in some way with shows like these, it is easy for that passion to go too far. And especially in the early Wild West days of social media, because at that point it was just basically Facebook and Twitter and YouTube, sort of. People were like doing like vlogs and whatnot.
Look, when it's the Newsies fan base, like that's a fan base who like loves this show and loves these performers because they're adorable twinks who can do jump splits.
Yeah, that's how we have Outsiders and Lost Boys now.
Yeah, seriously, it's just Newsies, in different pants, and slightly different hats occasionally,
and slightly different teeth now.
Yeah, those the twinks know they need to be Instagram ready now. But having a fan base that's seeing themselves reflected in a woman who is literally fucking nuts is going to be a slightly more intense and maybe dangerous fan base.
Yeah, I also find stories about families are triggering and fodder for a lot of people, and which is not to diminish the genuine joy that this show brings to a lot of people. As I said, I have found my corner of joy with it now, but yeah, it's for me, it's always been the piece itself is what gives me the joy, not necessarily the people. Sometimes I really love a performance and I gravitate towards that, but then it becomes like I really love the craft. I don't love the person, but there are plenty of performers I've met now where I'm like, oh yeah, you're so talented. Oh, I met you now. Yeah, we don't have to do that part again, but I'll see you and stuff. But
hey.
But I think we'll start diving into like the actual material of the show now. But we're kind of tiptoeing around the subject just because in order to talk about the material itself, we also kind of have to talk about the effect it has on audiences. And it also always comes with a bit of backlash in terms of how it portrays mental health and how it portrays therapy and ECT. And I did some research of my own yesterday, not to sound like a Long Island mom who's like, I did my research on vaccines and here's what the internet told me. But I wanted to sort of see like, okay, how is ECT practiced today? What is the, medical community's feeling on it? What is the backlash of it? Why do people feel a certain kind of way and XYZ? And then I read some essays about Next to Normal and its relationship with ECT. And there also a lot of YouTubers now, because the pro shot is out, of people saying, I'm doing my reaction to Next Normal and telling you the things it gets right, things it doesn't get right as a person who has bipolar, somebody who has PTSD, things like that. So I thought I like having all this information out there. The problem is like, it's up to you to filter it, which is fucking scary and dangerous. But yeah, we'll talk some more about it. So speaking of the woman who's fucking nuts, our leading character is Miss Diana Goodman. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Dear Diana Goodman. She has been through it.
I love musicals about women named Diana.
Oh, that's it. That's the mashup we need. Just the entire show. Just combine them.
Absolutely. Just do the entire plot of Diana Goodman, but it's to the score of Diana.
Yeah. So Dr. Madden, like when he emerges as the rock star, comes up as James Hewitt on the pony.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Duh.
I love it. So who is she? What's her life? What's her story? Who is she when we meet her? Where is she at?
So we meet her as the MTI description as a typical suburban mom. She's staying home and she's making sandwiches on the floor. Mm-hmm. So yeah, they try to set it up as like, yeah, we're the perfect loving family. And then she starts to have a gentle mental break throughout the opening number.
Yeah.
And finally ends it on the floor, making a pile of sandwiches.
And we were introduced to the rest of the family throughout the number, because when the number begins, it's 3 a.m. and her son has come home late. And through that, people start weaving in and out. The son goes to his room. The husband comes out. She says, "I'm going to fuck you in 5 minutes." And so they do that. And then we meet the teenage daughter, who's younger than the son. And she's, very smart, but she's manic and clearly on the edge of a breakdown as well. And everyone's just sort of trying to get through the day. Just another day, they say.
Typical opening number, but with a twist, which at second stage, they opened with Light, which is now the closing number of the show.
Yeah. The show used to bookend with those songs.
Yeah, which I'd forgotten about, because I actually texted Charlie Alterman, who was the MD of the Off-Broadway and Broadway productions and Kennedy Center. And I was like, okay, so that theme that comes in at the very top of the prologue, was there a name for it? Because every time that theme comes back, it feels like it means something, and I can't really clock what it is. It's like, it's really just the vamp from Light that we just liked and we kind of kept in there. So that vocal is always there in my mind, even though we cut the vocal from the top of the show.
Yeah. Which they say that they did to just dive into the show faster, because with Light, when it opened off Broadway, it wasn't anything plot driven. It was, God damn it. I was going to sneeze.
Oh, damn it.
God damn it. Fuck you, Next to Normal. I wanted to sneeze. But it was just Dan and Natalie and Diana. Like, they were all just singing Light sort of in different pools. And then it went into Gabe showing up late in the night. And so they just cut all that and went straight into Gabe showing up early, which I think is correct. Like, just to quote Diana, dive in with both feet.
Yep. It's a very good move. The changes that they made between Off-Broadway and Arena Stage were remarkable. Like, that is just a pure lesson in go ahead and kill your darlings.
Speaking of Gunkel, Adam Ellsbury, he did see it off Broadway, and then I think he said he saw the very first Broadway preview, or maybe it was the second Broadway preview, something like that.
Yeah.
And he had liked it at second stage, but similar to the critics, he was like, there's stuff here that needs to go. And he told me the feeling he had watching Act One, just going like, oh, they fixed it. They got it. And he just had that feeling for the rest of the show, that's a very exciting feeling, to see a show that you enjoy but know that the potential hasn't been met, and then seeing it again and they met it. Because like as Brian was saying, like, they made actual changes. This wasn't like we cut a line here, we moved some stuff around. Like, no, they fucking cut songs, they added songs, they rewrote whole lyrics to songs. They went in.
Yeah, and I kind of felt that when I saw Dear Evan Hansen at second stage. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is in good shape, but, there will definitely make some changes. That Sincerely Me song has got to go. Boo.
And yet,
like, why does everyone try to write teenage boys that way? Okay. Yeah,
but like, how many times have we seen this happen with shows where we're like, oh, that's clearly a booger, get her out of here, and it just stays. It just stays. I don't know why. Like, they understood. It took them so long to realize that, like, Costco, the song where Diana has a breakdown at Costco, had to go, like, because the show had been in development for a decade by that point, and it took second stage for them to go, oh, this needs to get cut.
Well, interestingly, like, it felt like the tone was always supposed to be, even from the 10-minute, like, BMI workshop version that they did in, 98, 99?
Yeah.
Like, it was supposed to be kind of a comic, ironic look at ECT, which is why the Feelin' Electric title, which is terrible, stuck with it for so long.
Yeah.
Feelin' apostrophe electric. Girl. No.
Yeah. Well, so, which is to say, hold on to what you were going to say for like 30 seconds as I just lead us up to this moment. The show started as an idea by Brian Yorkie, because Yorkie and Tom Kitt met at the BMI workshop and started collaborating together. And at BMI, you have to do a final presentation. You have to do like a 10-15 minute musical. And Yorkie was watching a story about ECT, electroshock therapy, and he literally went like, they're still doing that? Because our collective minds think back of like the 50s and 60s, which is like this barbaric thing. And so he wanted to make a musical about that. They called it Feelin' Electric. And they spent the next like 4 years kind of fleshing it out into a full musical. They did an actual reading in 2002 at a theater in Washington, the Village
Yeah.
Theater in Issaquah, Washington, where Yorkie was the associate artistic director. Then they would do a string of readings for a few years in New York, one of which starred Sherry Renee Scott and Norbert Leovitz, which, my God, I want the audio of that.
Sherry talks about it in the show that they did together,
Mm.
Two-Hander, where basically after last 5 years, just casting directors put them together in everything. So they did readings of that. They did readings of Honeymooners. There were like 4 different projects that they were just paired together on continually.
But like, as well they should have, because they're awesome together.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like, I want a sideshow with Sherry Renee Scott and Norbert Leo Butts, but nobody lets me
Sure.
do what I want. Nobody lets me do what I want.
Uh,
But so yeah, they do one. Then they do a premiere at the second annual Nymph. This is where a lot of musicals that you've come to love, like Title of the Show, premiered. The season that they do it was the second one, so that was Yank and Gutenberg.
that was 04?
I think so,
04
yeah.
or 05? Okay.
04 or 05, something like that. This one starred Amy Spanger and Anthony Rapp and Annalie Ashford. It won no awards that year because none were really given. But there were 12 productions that were given a quote-unquote next link selection, which provided funding and support for future production. Feelin' Electric was not selected. But I believe that is where David Stone came to find it, and he came on board as the producer. And they did further development at Second Stage with Alice Ripley, Greg Edelman, Phoebe Stroll, and Skylar Aston. And Stone and Second Stage were the ones who were like, you need to change the title. This title is terrible. And so they changed the title, but the tone remained the same, which is why people were so confused. And so that's what goes back to what Brian was saying earlier of the sarcastic, quippy, satirical tone.
Mm-hmm. And keeping the tune Feeling Electric, because Feeling Electric at Second Stage was the closing of Act 1.
Yeah. I think the Doctor sang it, right?
Yeah.
Like that?
Yeah. And it was like a big old rock number about electroshock therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you left Act 1 with.
Think about how Next Normal actually ends now. It used to be a big, fun rock number for Dr. Madden.
Yep. And then, going back to what Matt was saying, there was a number. So at the end of the opening number now, Diana has her first mental break where she's making sandwiches on the floor. They saved that, and just the number got a big old traditional musical theater button. And then we went to Costco with Diana, and she had her mental break whilst shopping in Costco with a number called More, More, More.
Mm-hmm.
It was not great. But again, it was very silly. The tone of it was wildly different than anything that's in Next to Normal now. And it set you up for a show that it's not.
Yeah. It's also, I watched some of it. It's a very overly staged number, more so than that production ended up being. Because like what I remember about the original production was sort of the viewpoints of it all. Like there was always sort of angles going on and a lot of crisscrossing. It was never cluttered, which I think added clarity to the storytelling, but also made me find a little bit of a sterile quality to the production of it, which is maybe why I wasn't able to relate to it. At least that was my feeling from it at the time. And so Costco, when you watch that number, it's like they add in all these shelves and Alice Ripley's walking around with a shopping cart, like all over the stage. Like it is a cluttered number.
Yeah. And it's prop heavy in a way that nothing else in the show is.
Yeah.
Because say what you will about the original staging, but it did have that kind of just Michael Greif vibe of unit scaffoldy set, not a lot going on the stage, and it's really just about how the physical bodies move in the space.
Yeah.
As opposed to like, oh, we got a pile of bells and whistles.
Yeah.
So it did feel very Ren-like.
I'm also the only one who really had gripes with the original staging. And there are things in the original staging that I like, certain details that they put in that I actually we'll talk about when we compare it to the London production. Just certain things that I remember Greif did. And then I went back to the library to watch it again so I could really kind of think about the nuances of everything. And they filmed it, I think, in November of 2009. So Aaron was back because Aaron left the summer after the Tonys to do Catch Me If You Can in Seattle, I think. And then he came back. Yeah. And then he came back that winter to finish out his contract. And it was interesting watching it again, what Greif was doing on a larger canvas than, being up front and up close like I was. So yeah, that was interesting to me. What is your favorite number in this show, Brian?
It changes. It really depends. I mean, I think I Am the One is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And the way it keeps coming back, I feel is very, very effective. You Don't Know I Am the One is,
It's a great
I
scene.
think, really feels like the show to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's where it crystallizes the most for me. I mean, I Miss the Mountains is incredible. I think it's gorgeous and does really good things. We can talk about the London versus the original later, because I have thoughts.
Okay.
But yeah, what is your favorite?
I'm not gonna, I do think that the opening is pretty fantastic. I think it
Mm-hmm.
sets up the scene and the tone really well. I if I'm listening to anything, it might also be You Don't Know into I Am the One. I think that whole sequence is fantastic. I also really love I tend to like sequences in Next Normal more than like the singular songs. You know, I think every teenager really likes Superboy and the Invisible Girl. I actually like it less now over time. Not, I think it's a perfectly good song, but it also comes right after such a banger scene, and it's so short that I'm
Mm-hmm.
always like every time I've watched it now with like the London production and going back to the library, it's you have this extended sequence, and then you get a 2.5 minute number with an applause break, and you're not used to that a lot in Next Normal. You tend to have
Mm-hmm.
longer stretches with applause. So for me, I'm always like, it's like a little pit stop.
Very much so. And I think that's actually a lot of what they fixed between Second Stage and Arena. Like, they did create more extended sequences. Like, they cut the button from the opening number. They cut a
Yeah.
lot of buttons, which is great.
Yeah.
Which is why Superboy and the Invisible Girl, but it's like, you know, clap, 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 feels weird.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's a better and more complicated score than it gets credit for.
Oh,
Because
for
like
sure.
it's a rock musical. I'm like, it is. There are rock vibes to it, but as a score, like musically, it is so complicated. Superboy and the Invisible Girl is in 11/8. Like, it is in a time signature that does not exist. And there's a lot of kind of dropped beats and added beats in order to make it feel less square and more unsteady, just kind of throughout the score. And I think it's incredibly smart musical writing.
Yeah. No, I think I've always thought that the score was fantastic and rightfully won the Tony that year. For me, again, it's the longer sequences. The Make Up Your Mind sequence, I think, is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I love how it intertwines all the different characters. Um, I've always kind of, whenever I've re-listened to it, I've always kind of trailed off before Act One ends. I don't know if it's that I don't want to go to a dark emotional place when I listen to it, or if it's just that the songs don't do it for me as well. And watching the London pro shot and then watching it at the library, I think Act Two actually has a lot more nuance than it gets credit for. And we'll talk about that with a certain story beat that happens with Diana. There
Mm-hmm.
is a song that I don't like. I just flat out don't like, and I wish that they would take another stab at it. It's the Song of Forgetting. Sing a Song of Forgetting. I'm just like, I think we can try that once more.
It is gently on the nose, and I don't know who we're talking to or why. There are these moments in the kind of opening number where we break the fourth wall,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know who we're talking to or why. And
Yeah.
then we never do that again. And I do think it's deliberate, but I kind of don't know why.
Yeah, it plays fast and loose with theatrical storytelling devices, which it's not a ding against the show, but
Mm-hmm.
I think it is a symptom of how fast and loose it plays the material. With that comes some dramaturgical hiccups. Very few shows are like objectively perfect, but it is something to consider. Yeah, like Dan has asides to the audience in the opening number that he never really does again. The like I never know what she's talking about. It's yeah, as you said, like who is he talking to?
Yeah. Yeah, that always bothered me in a way that I think it's on purpose to kind of let us into this world, and then we kind of forget that we're in the world,
Mm-hmm.
and then the world is just happening to us. Whereas if we didn't have those kind of moments where the characters are clocking, where things are going a little askew, we wouldn't necessarily know that this is their everyday existence. That he's
Yeah.
clocking it and then letting it go, and deliberately letting it go.
I don't know if there's a quote unquote fix for that at the beginning to make that clear and not break the fourth wall. I don't know. Maybe there is. If I all I'm saying is I would like to maybe rewrite Song of Forgetting. And hey, if there are a couple of lines here and there we want to take another pass at, absolutely, because I do think the show works very well. I think there are moments we could make even better.
Sure.
You
Song of
know,
Forgetting is a little gently on the nose. Look,
it's the only song I don't like. It's the only one I don't
yeah.
like.
I mean, every time I do, so like when I'm playing out in the world and people ask for I'm Alive, which is weirdly frequent, that lyric just feels insane out of context.
Oh, sure.
And listening back to the second stage, like the old lyrics were very much not good. But
They knew that.
They knew, and they kind of fixed. But, you know, a character who is very much dead, just screaming about how alive he is hilarious to me.
Yeah.
I'm like, girl.
Well, I think that's the other thing of the vagueness of Gabe. So, okay, so if you want more context, then I'm assuming everyone who's listening to this knows Next Normal pretty well. I'm sure there are people who love the show with every fiber of their being who found this on their For You page and probably clicked off in the first 5 minutes when we didn't immediately start talking about Jack Wolf. But I don't know. Anyway, Diana, we find out, was diagnosed with bipolar disorder when she was about 21, 22, but she also says that she's not convinced, and her doctors weren't convinced that that was fully the extent of it. So we have a name, but we're also being told don't get too in the weeds of that diagnosis because it's possible that there's other stuff going on with her. The genuine thinking today is that she does have bipolar disorder that got exacerbated through PTSD. And the point of the show is that she kept getting treated for things for her bipolar disorder, but never for her PTSD. And so her condition just kept getting worse because other things were not getting treated. And so what we learn is that they are not a family of four. It is not Diana, Dan, Gabe, and Natalie. It is simply Diana, Dan, and Natalie, because Gabe was their first child who died when he was 8 months old. And Diana has been holding on to Gabe in some way, which I want to talk about that as well, of like, what exactly is this manifestation of Gabe? Has he always been there? Is this something that's happened before? Is this new? Like, what is this going on with him? Because the introduction of him seems to be kind of this taboo subject, and that's sort of what makes the plot start to spiral, is the fact that like she's physically interacting with him in front of the family in a way that causes things to, go into chaos. But you have an actor playing an 18-year-old version of Gabe, or what Diana would imagine Gabe is. And in different interviews with different collaborators and different actors, there's always a different mentality of what that role represents and what his intentions are. And I would love to discuss it with you. Because I don't fucking know. And I'm trying to figure it out for myself. And of course, things are open to interpretation. But yeah, How would you describe this role?
I mean, it is challenging to describe. And I kind of didn't clock how much it was influenced by the original production, the original staging, until I watched the London Pro shot.
Mm-hmm.
Because the tone of how they create and manifest Gabe is very different than the original Broadway.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of fucking evil in the original production, I feel. He's trying to kind of manifest himself in a way that is incredibly aggressive. I mean, he's kind-ish to Diana when he's not trying to get her to, do things to herself.
Unalive herself,
yeah. But he is vicious with Dan. He is absolutely vicious in trying to get Dan to acknowledge him.
Yeah.
And I felt in the London production, that kid was so sad. And he's like just trying to come back in a way.
Yeah.
As opposed to impose himself on the family. It's weird being a twink ghost. It's a challenge. Twink ghostery is, it's a hard profession.
um there's gotta be more of those of twink ghost roles in musical theater. That maybe that's our first Broadway breakdown merch of like the names of
Twinkos
twink ghosts. Yeah. Gabe.
in that, yeah, in that kind of American Apparel font,
Yeah.
like the name list. Huh? Who are our other twink ghosts?
I know. You think about that for a second. So my thinking of Gabe, which I actually, another reason why I'm really partial to the London production is because of how they portray him and how Jack plays him. He was this sort of malevolent creature in the original production of, first he's this all-American boy, and then as the reveal happens that he doesn't exist really on stage, they had Aaron and then Kyle Dean Massey sort of snake around the stage all the time, and you would go up and down on all the levels, and he would always sort of look around and be brooding. As Brian said, he kind of comes across as very evil, but also like in control, like this overlooming presence. And I think that's partly why I never bought the show at the time, because I didn't buy that. I didn't buy that as a storytelling device, that he is this creature that's in control of everything. And it made the finale with Dan kind of confusing to me for a while. I wasn't quite sure what was going on. And the London production kind of unlocked it for me in a way, which is that Gabe just genuinely doesn't exist. He is a representation of grief and trauma and all of these things, and jealousy for Natalie and all these things. And so he acts to each character how they feel about him. So he's not actually in control. He is domineering and mean-spirited to Natalie because that's how she's kind of feeling about that presence. He is comforting and seductive to Diana because that's how she feels about him. And he is invisible and annoying to Dan, and then eventually like aggressive with Dan because that's what he needs. But this idea of I'm alive, it's not necessarily him as a creature singing to the audience, I am now in power and control and I can do all of these things. He doesn't actually do anything. He's a theatrical device. And the whole point of Dan is that he will never actually say Gabe's name. He doesn't want to talk about the son. When Gabe died, his mentality was give Diana a couple of months to process, because we learned that, Gabe was an unplanned pregnancy when they were in college. They got married to, have the baby. Then Gabe died when he was 8 months old. They had Natalie to kind of fill in the void. And Dan kind of went whole hog on being like Natalie's dad, and Diana just wasn't ready yet. So she was always playing catch up and never could, because she was never really given the time to process her grief of her baby. And it kept just becoming this foundation that was built on rotten ground. And so Diana kept being told to put that in the past, and yet she was still sort of harboring all of these emotions and all these feelings with no place to go. And so Dan's whole arc with Gabe is eventually being able to recognize him and acknowledge him and open up the floodgates to, that was such a painful thing that I never really allowed myself to access. Now I will, which is why in the London production, his interaction, Jamie Parker and Jack Wolf's interaction, I actually really love, because it's a little bit like a wrestling match. Like, no, you have to say my name. And he does. And it becomes like, it's painful, but it is freeing. And I really enjoyed that. Whereas in New York, I remember like Aaron coming out of the shadows like a goddamn snake. I'm like, oh God, is he going to murder Dan? And then I go, no, he can't do that. He's not real. But then he like hugged him. And I was like, wait, what is going on? I remember just being very, very confused. And maybe it's because I was a dumb 19-year-old, but that was me at the time.
No, I mean, look, that scene, the writing is very effective.
Mm-hmm.
I think the way it was kind of staged in New York, again, I didn't realize it was less good until I watched the London Pro Shot. Basically, he's like, hugs him, Brian Darcy James / Bobby Spencer says, Gabriel. Then he like hugs him, he's like, hi, Dad, and then he just kind of runs out.
Yeah.
After the acknowledgement, what struck me is that how Gabe is then removed to the upper level of the house in London, and he's just broken. Like, he is so sad because he's been released, and now he has nowhere to go. And I think that's like Gabe finally letting go of the family, and now is just a sad, lonely ghost child.
He's officially just a ghost twink.
Yeah, and now he doesn't exist, and he doesn't have any anchor. And so, as the family is healing, he's broken.
Yeah.
And I loved that. I didn't expect to love that. I was trying to look up, I'm looking up the lyric, because what you were saying about I'm Alive, about how he's, the London version was less about him manifesting his power. That kind of goes against the lyric that he's got in the opening. What is it that
I am more
the
than
world
memory.
will feel? No, in the opening, like the world will feel my power and obey.
Oh yeah.
Is that the lyric?
For
Something
just
like
another day when another stolen hour when the world will feel my power and obey. Yeah.
that. Yeah. So, I mean, the direction for New York feels based on that line.
Sure.
And London was like, no one will remember that.
I genuinely feel like the London production, with both direction and honestly with performances, I just feel like it actually has a better understanding of mania and hallucination. And I don't know, like, obviously, like, what I appreciate about Jack Wolf's performance is he does play Gabe as a human, but also as an entity at the same time. Whereas I just felt like Aaron Tveit played him solely as an entity for my money, which is also why I always said it's like the best use of Aaron Tveit. He's playing an idea, not a person.
Yes.
But
an idea in a tight t-shirt, which is, nice for
and in boxers for that opening number. But people also conflated the two memories of the opening number and I'm Alive, because they'd be like, to watch Aaron Tveit in boxers sliding around on those poles. I was like, he didn't do that.
Nope.
He was in his boxers, and then he was on the poles.
Yeah. Yeah. Which, is my typical Saturday.
Yeah. But so I'm hoping that I'm making sense to the listeners here. It's everybody always wants to do the easier thing. Mm-hmm. No matter who you are. The harder thing is always exhausting. And sometimes the harder thing is acknowledging the pain that you have. Sometimes the harder thing is working through the pain that you have. So like Diana, what makes Gabe seductive to her is that it's easier to stay in this soft landing spot with 18-year-old Gabe than to actually work through therapy of letting him go. Dan, it's easier to just not acknowledge him than to actually talk about this awful thing that happened when he was 22 that kind of fully destroyed his life, even though he has managed to build something on that. It's as I said, it's on rotted ground. And Natalie kind of blames Gabe, even though Gabe has never actually done anything to her other than die of a bowel obstruction. And so, again, he's not actually doing anything. How he acts on stage is based off of what the actual physical characters on Earth are feeling and about him and doing with their own lives. Does that make sense? And I'm not trying to take away, trying to put autonomy on people who are struggling and say, like, if you're not working on it, you're the problem. But just tying it to that role is sort of how I've always felt about it now, how I've always felt that, how I have felt about it now. I haven't always felt that way. I feel about it that way now. And it was something that I just sort of watched with the London production of, even when Jack would like have an evil grin on his face, I would go like, but I don't think that you're evil. I think that you're evil to him. I think you're evil to her. And I think you're caring to her. So like, I don't think that Gabe is seducing Diana to unalive herself. I think that Diana is in that moment of the I Dream to Dance, which is when after her breakthrough in therapy, she's supposed to go home and like sit with Gabe's things and like fully release him. And she should. That is ultimately what will set her free, but she can't do it. And it's not that literally the ghost of Gabe whispers in her ear, "Kill yourself." It's that she's just like, I just can't do it. And it's a theatrically enticing way to show it by having the actor representing Gabe be there for her. Like, that is a way for audiences to understand what's going on. It gets more complicated because then people like think this is a Ring situation, or what was that Sarah Michelle Gellar movie where she was in the haunted Japanese house?
Oh,
wasn't
Buffy
that
the
what it was?
Vampire Slayer? Yeah.
No,
Cruel
like
Intentions? No, I don't know.
No, the jump scare where there was like the Japanese ghost boy twink in her bed, and he was like, bah! Was it? Okay, whatever. Okay, American Horror Story, the first season of American Horror Story with the murder house, and
Sure.
and what's his face, Evan, what's his face, but he basically like convinces the daughter to kill herself because everyone who moves in the house dies, and so I just feel like that Gabe is not the murder house in Next to Normal. He's not actually physically able to tell characters what to do. He is a theatrical device of a manifestation of their each character's trauma and grief and disorder. That's I guess I'm trying to get around. That's a very long monologue.
And I think like each of those characters are kind of a representation of how one deals with grief and like different stages of how one deals with grief.
Yeah.
I mean, Dan is just denial.
Mm-hmm.
And Diana kind of goes back and forth in between bargaining and depression.
Yeah.
So, and Natalie is just anger.
Yeah.
Partly because
rage.
she never knew him. But his absence has affected her entire life and is the reason she exists. And Diana says like, and I think she knows that.
No, she says, I know she knows.
Yeah.
They never said it, but Natalie absolutely knows. Because first of all, Natalie's very smart. And we talked about this in the Light on the Piazza episode. Parents in troubled homes think that they hide this shit from their kids. They don't. The kids always know. They always know. And they talked about this with Natalie was a big change between Second Stage and Arena of like just the tone of the character. She was more of a drawl, wisecracking teen at Second Stage, and they infuse her with a lot more hurt, which of course makes her more rageful, but that because that rage came from a very raw, real place, audiences were able to attach themselves to her. They understood why she was lashing out. It wasn't just like this annoying fucking millennial. It's like, no, this kid is going through shit, and neither of her parents are helping her. They both are making it worse.
Yeah, replacing her first major song, which is perfect now, was basically the same vibe before. Interestingly, they changed the piece of music that she's practicing and made it Mozart instead, which
what was the original piece?
Invention in C. Okay. No, Chopin? I can't remember. Yeah, I threw my classical training out the window once I graduated from college. Ditched that opera degree real quick.
Anybody who's watching this can see the La Boheme poster behind Brian right now.
Yes, but it's the Broadway production.
Yes, it's the Baz Luhrmann La Boheme.
It's the Baz Luhrmann, which I saw 22 times.
See, that's the kind of Broadway fandom that I'm on board with.
Sure. Well, there were also 3 casts, so you can see all of them. One of which was Alfie Boe. We were just talking about the Les Mis Arena concert, which I saw Alfie do, and I'm like, yeah, that's about the same kind of performance he was giving in 2002. Moms love Alfie Boe. They love Alfie Boe, and good for them. Know your demo.
But so Natalie.
Oh, Natalie, yeah. So they replaced her. They replaced her song, and she in Second Stage she was kind of just screaming for no reason, and there was a calmness and a ramp up to the new tune. The Mozart was crazy, flat fucking crazy. That shows like the reason why she's the way she is like if she is perfect, if she does everything exactly right and becomes, the brainiac golden child, then she can justify her existence to her mother. And she'll finally be seen, which we get in Superboy and the Invisible Girl. More of her trying to justify herself.
Yeah, because it's sort of all of this shit that I've gone through has to be worth it somehow. And it's and if I do not achieve this, then it was all for nothing. I'm just someone who went through something awful, which is, sometimes people write plays, Brian, and you just go, I can't let that just be a thing that happened to me. This has to be for something. And, she talks about, I'm going to graduate early. I'm going to get my scholarship. I'm going to go to Yale. And all I have to do is do this last perfect thing, and it's all going to be great. And it's clearly not what will make her feel happy. It's not bringing her joy, but it is a goal that she thinks is achievable. But it's also like, it's hurting her as well. It's another thing that's hurting her.
And she never really, the sad thing is like, she never really finds pure joy. The closest thing we get to Natalie enjoying herself is when she's stolen all of her mother's medication and is going to clubs.
Yeah.
Fucked out of her mind.
4 clubs on a Tuesday night or something like that that's a lot.
Yeah.
But I'm also wondering, so do we know where they all live?
No idea. I don't know what the fuck club she's going to, fucked up at 17 years old or 16 years old.
I'm also wondering, where do they live where there are 4 different clubs she can go to on a Tuesday night? Clearly they live someplace where there's a downtown, but because Diana talks about having to speed downtown to save Gabe. And so they don't live like in a city, but maybe a suburb near a city. But then I don't know. This is the dramaturgical shit that like gets in my head. They could just say, hey, instead of saying like this is the 4th club this week, like you've gone to this club 3 times this week. It could be like the one club in town. That's all you gotta say. These are Yorkie. These are just the things that I'm like, hey, can we just come back and change that?
And they did change things in London. Like they updated a bunch of stuff.
They included X.
They included X. They updated the length of time that a parent is allowed to grieve.
Mm-hmm.
Went clinically from 4 months to 6 months. There's like lots of little tiny changes that they made.
Yeah.
So like do that. Like fix that little kind of weird moment.
Yeah, those are the things that I think are more actual fixes rather than the hiccups we were talking about earlier. But and maybe rewriting Song for Forgetting. But if you want to, I would like it.
Just Jen Simard, always. Just come back to Jen Simard.
Jen Simard is Diana Goodman. Imagine. I miss the mountains. Yeah.
Look, people love a strong, interesting vocal placement on a Diana Goodman.
Sure. So. I also think that Jen Simard's Tony's coming when she does her first like serious. I think her next show is going to be a serious show, and people are going to have their minds fucking blown, and she's going to win a Tony for that.
Oh, I hope so. Yeah.
I
also just want her to go to television and make a pile of money and then come back.
Oh, sure. Make a pile of money, get an extra like 10 million Instagram followers so she can then pick whatever show she wants to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, God.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
As Bob Fosse said to BB Newirth, when she asked if it was okay for her to leave Sweet Charity for a few weeks to film Cheers, he said, "There's no shame in making money, BB." And she said, "Got it." And then she became a pretty decent TV star and got to headline and shit after that.
Yeah, and got Tonys and delights.
So I guess for anyone who's wondering what the fuck Song of Forgetting is, one of the plot lines with Diana is, them all throughout Act 1 trying to find ways to give her a more chemical balance in her brain. And so they start with her psychopharmacologist and all the different pills.
Great number.
Yeah, it's a very good number.
Still works. And that's the thing. That's one of the like irony-laden tunes from the original draft that actually still works.
Yeah. What they learned also is going whole hog on the emotion doesn't mean that the show needs to be a cry fest from start to finish. You actually do need laughter to break the tension. We talked about this in Piazza and sort of how I felt that James Lapine missed the boat with the original production of Passion. They were so concerned about laughter that they did everything in their power to cut it. And I feel like post-productions of Broadway of Passion figured out how to incorporate humor to make that show breathe, because you can't just do 2 hours of love me or I'll die. Like there's actual humor in that show. And Next to Normal has a lot of humor in it as well. And that isn't one of the few like actual humorous numbers. But the thing with Diana is, she goes on these pills. She eventually flushes them down the toilet, and then they go to a new therapist, which she has all these breakthroughs on, but that leads to a major relapse and an attempt at suicide. And the final like grasp is the doctor recommending ECT, electroshock therapy. And Diana and Dan eventually agree to do it, and that's how Act 1 ends. And then Act 2, she comes home after 3 weeks of ECT with major memory loss, severe memory loss, 19 years worth. And there's a lot of conversation about that plot device. We'll just say that. But it does lead to the song, literally a song of forgetting. She comes home. She doesn't know who Natalie is. She knows who Dan is, sort of, but she doesn't know it's their house. And they start showing her photographs to, remind her of things. And Dan won't show any of the stuff of Gabe. He just is showing stuff of Natalie, stuff of their honeymoon, things like that. And some things come back, but not everything. And that's the song they sing of forgetting. It does have a good lyric in it that I think is fun, which is Dan showing something from their honeymoon or their wedding, a flower from their wedding. And he goes, it was perfect. Everything we dreamed it would be. And Natalie's like, no, it wasn't. And he goes, no, it's how I remember it. She goes, it was everything we'd hoped. And she says, it was raining. It was Portland. You eloped.
Mm-hmm.
She goes, I mean, really, Dad? Portland.
Portland. Yeah.
Portland, Dad. And that always gets a nice laugh, which I appreciate.
Which, again, not knowing where the fuck we are. So do we mean Portland, Maine or Oregon?
I'm thinking Oregon.
I am too.
I don't know why.
So are they in some kind of like, I don't know why the whole thing feels Seattle to me.
I was thinking the same thing. Jesus Christ. What is wrong with us? I felt like they lived maybe like right on the outskirts of Seattle.
Yeah.
Like close enough that they could get to like Midtown in 20 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know why it feels Seattle to me, but yeah.
Sure as hell don't feel San Francisco.
No.
Or Austin.
or Austin.
Or Chicago.
Yes. San Jose. Like, I mean, it could be,
or Santa Fe.
Oh.
Or San Diego. Or as
everything happens in Santa Fe in musicals.
It's true. Or everybody's always trying to get to Santa Fe in musicals.
Why is that? Why is that like the fucking mecca of late 90s, early 2000s musical theater?
I think because it's a decent rhyme. You can do something with Faye in a way you can't do with Diego.
Well,
Prego,
most
Diego
of them are pretty Faye, you know.
Yeah. I know. I want someone to sing a song about San Diego, as Ron Burgundy pronounces
Sing a song of Diego. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. That's what we can replace Song of Forgetting with. That's the new lyric.
Well, the problem is then you go, sing a song of Diego. It's better than Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah.
It gets bad.
Key Largo. Yeah.
My favorite movie is Fargo.
Lumbago? Yeah.
Lumbago.
Sure. Great. We got it.
We're getting there. I think we're in the right mental state for talk about this show. Come
on, rhymingdictionary.com.
This episode brought to you by Rhyming Dictionary, Derek Hamm.
It's .com. Wait, what is that? Did you ever watch Homestar Runner? Were you ever into that?
What is she?
She was an early 2000s like internet kind of meme site. There were all these animated shorts, and they are brilliant. There are a bunch of characters, but the lead character is Homestar Runner, who was this kind of like white oblong thing with a little like propeller beanie on. It's like, Homestar Runner, it's .com. It's just the weirdest thing ever. And there is a kind of gruff, semi-evil character named Strong Bad, who basically has a Mexican wrestling mask on and boxing gloves. And my boyfriend does a very good impression of him. And he'd always answer fan emails. It's chaotic as shit. I'm going to send you some things.
Please do. Please do. I'm confused and intrigued, much like my sexuality.
Yeah. Strong Bad had a comic that he drew called Teen Girl Squad that is incredible.
Yeah. Why don't we talk about what we want to talk about? The thing about the Broadway production of Next Normal was that it did end up being quite successful. It ran for almost 2 years. Won the Pulitzer in 2010, which was actually controversial. Brian, did you know this?
I didn't know that until I literally never heard that until you sent me that Guardian article. Was it the Guardian?
Mm-hmm.
It was basically like, it's controversial. The Next Normal won the Pulitzer. Why?
Because I think this is the third time this has happened on the podcast where we covered a show that had Pulitzer drama, but Pulitzer drama for the Pulitzer for drama. But it boils down to that it was submitted, it was not selected as a finalist, but the production invited the voting board to the show anyway, and the board
Mhm.
decided that they were going to give it to Next to Normal, and so that was the drama, which honestly, like, part of me respects the Next Normal team for like going rogue about that, of like, we disagree with the judges and we think we're good, why don't you all come. I Part of me is also like, that's a little Corinne from that one season of The Bachelor that I watched where she like disregarded the rules. Or no, it wasn't Corinne. Now there's some Bachelor season where like the girls had to do a running contest or whatever through an obstacle course, and one girl just like went to the right and went past all of the obstacles and got to the finish line, and the producers let her win the challenge because they're like, she had initiative, she decided she wanted it, and everyone's like, we followed the rules though.
Yeah, but is David Stone really going to follow the rules?
I guess not.
Between him and Rudin, like, of the Broadway producers of note, like, yeah, we're not going to like, oh no, the Pulitzer committee didn't like our show. It's like, fine, no, come see it. And honestly, I feel like the show does deserve it.
What were
the show they got to deserves it.
What
else
were
was
the
up that year?
finalists that year for the Pulitzer? It was, okay, Pulitzer for drama, Next to Normal. The finalists were, okay, it was The Bengal Tiger at the Baghdad Zoo, the elaborate entrance of Chad Deity, which I have never heard of, but it's Christopher
Who's she?
Diaz. Is Christopher Diaz the one who wrote the book for Hell's Kitchen? In the Next Room, or The Vibrator, played by Sarah Rule, which was a perfectly fine play.
Yeah.
Is Christopher Diaz who I'm thinking of? Yes, he wrote the book for Hell's Kitchen. So, in my mind, yeah, I'm okay with Next Normal winning it.
Yeah.
Again, is it a slight dick move? Sure, but also, part of me wonders if they were someone sort of looked at the nominees and he was like, I'm sorry, these three Peggies, and went, voters, come to my show.
Mm-hmm.
You will prefer this over the scripts that you were just sent.
Yeah, and honestly, like, I always feel there is a little bit of a like musicals with the Pulitzer Committee.
Sure, it happens rarely.
How many have actually won? 6 in the recent years?
In the recent years, yeah, maybe more like that. But overall, I think it's 11. It's Strange Loop, Hamilton, Next to Normal, Rent, Sunday in the Park with George, A Chorus Line, How to Succeed, Fiorello, which is so fucking random.
So dumb. South Pacific.
Of the Icing. I feel like there's an 11th one. Or maybe it's just those 10. Okay.
The fact that you got Of the Icing, bravo.
Thank you.
Bravo.
Girl, what podcast do you think you're on?
I hope that this knowledge will someday get you laid, at least once.
That knowledge is never going to be what gets me laid. That knowledge is what's going to keep me from ever getting pregnant or getting someone else pregnant. Because in the middle of the act, I'm going to say, well, Of the Icing was the first musical to win the Pulitzer, but George Gershwin was not given the Pulitzer because they didn't think the music was applicable to it. That's when the person I'm with is going to be like, okay, stop. I'm going to go now. You finish what you're doing over here. I'm going to head over to another place where someone doesn't have that knowledge.
I don't know. There is a lid for every pot and a top for every you.
Can we stop this narrative that I'm a power bottom? I'm not.
I never said power bottom. You said it. I want to go on record.
You said top for every me. What are the listeners supposed to feel in this moment?
They've met you.
Some of them have.
Listen.
What do you? Stop it.
People will listen to you for 3 hours, rattle on about Fiorello. So I think they're familiar with the work.
But it's also not true, Brian. Stop this.
I know it's not true.
And stop being mean to me. So
that's not. Look, no bottom shaming. There is no bottom shaming.
Power bottom shaming, because most power bottoms are Demon Twinks or Patti LuPone.
I just spent 12 days on a boat with Patti LuPone. She is not a power bottom. She is a, aggressive verse top.
If you say so.
We are furious, but we are sailing.
I'm sorry. Isn't that what every bottom says? I am furious, but I am sailing. I am taking this joystick and I am sailing the choppy seas. I'm sorry. That's what power bottoms say.
Look, I'm just saying, like, you knowing that much about Fiorello and of the icing is going to stand you in good stead.
Sure, we'll see.
Speaking as someone who really like the moment that I knew that my relationship was going to become a relationship is when we were talking like post-coitally about Ann Miller's soup commercial. There you go.
Sometimes there's nothing one can say. What I will say is, have you seen the clip of Patti LuPone coaching a teenage girl singing I Miss the Mountains from Next to Normal? And she says, do you even know what the song is about? And Patti goes, it's about sex. It's about an orgasm. This is a song about an orgasm.
Clearly, Patti was not one of the Tony voters that year.
No, but I have wondered, what would a early 90s Patti LuPone be like as Diana Goodman?
Oh, sensational, to quote Cola Scola. Like, how would it look? Sensational. Like, I miss the mountains, I miss the lonely climb. It would be great.
My only Alice Ripley impression I can do is her "Didn't I see this movie?" which is "Didn't I see this movie? Didn't I cry? Didn't I cry?"
See, okay, look, the key to a Ripley as Diana Goodman impression is to just think slightly Swedish.
Sure. No, every time I try to do Swedish, I do Alice Ripley. Every time I try to do Carolee Carmello, I just start doing Alice Ripley. Or it's Irish. It becomes Irish.
Oh, I wish I could get the early Carolee Carmello vibrato, because then that would just, it would be so easy to get that impression.
Just leave your vibrator in, Brian, and then you'll get it.
Yeah, just turn it up to like 17, and then that's the key. It's the speed.
Like a power drill it is.
Fully that.
So to pivot.
You don't know this. Like, I can't get it.
No, every time I do Carolee's Do It Alone, Leo, it just becomes Irish.
Do it alone, Leo. Do it all by yourself. You're the only one who matters after all.
After so many people, Leo, they're dancing in the streets, Leo.
Leo, pray them tall and tall. Pray your voice is alert. Not enough to read through that door.
I can't.
Slightly Sean Connery.
It becomes Irish Scottish. It's I can't do it. I try and I always go into do it alone, Leo. But how else does one do it?
Yeah. It's always good to find. You need to find like that one in to a vocal impression.
Yeah.
Like Judy Garland, everything has to go through R. Like, it's got to be, I miss the mountains, I miss a lonely climb.
We start dreamcasting these older divas in their prime as Diana Goodman, and it just becomes a treasure trove of what the fuckery. Liza. My God.
Sure. What's her fuck? Oh, God, I'm having a mini stroke. Original Miss Hannigan.
Oh, Dorothy Loudon. Oh, my God.
Oh, that would have been fucking nuts.
That would have been a Diana Goodman straight from the vagina. She would just be bumping and grinding her way all through it. So, okay, when did you watch the London Pro Shot? Was it purely for this episode, or had you seen it
purely
before?
For this?
Okay.
No, I was going to go see it in London, and then I heard it was coming over, so I just didn't. And then I just didn't watch the Pro Shot. Basically because I didn't know how I was going to feel about it, honestly. And I absolutely fell in love with the production a third of the way through. I fully got on board. I didn't know Jamie Parker was in it, and I loved him in Into the Woods. Like, loved him, and I thought I was so happy to see him in this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly, like, full disclosure, and might get tased for this, wasn't sure how I was going to feel about Casey in it. Because I've seen her in, a bunch of things, but wasn't sure how much this would line up. And I like my Diana vocal to be a little dirty.
Sure.
to be honest. I mean, being an Alice stan from, the OG, and I went down to go see Rachel Bay Jones do it at the Kennedy Center.
Hmm.
And I thought that performance was fucking perfect. There was such grit on it. Like with Alice, especially towards the end of the run, like it got challenging because it is a beast of a role. And to put yourself through that 8 times a week for, counting second stage and workshops for, 2 years is going to take its toll.
Yeah.
And she is a balls to the wall singer at all points. So I saw Alice towards the end of her run, and it was tough. It was tough on her vocally. Rachel had all of the range on it and all of the power, but it came from a real rock place, and it went to that like kind of raspy Rachel Bay Jones thing up top, and it was fucking thrilling. It was incredible. She sang the shit out of it. She was acting, her face off. Brandon Dixon was a really good match for her.
Yeah. Do you have audio of it by any chance? Any audio? No, maybe. Okay.
I'll send it to you offline. Yes. I can't believe I haven't. How did I not?
I don't know, because you don't love me like you say you do. You call me a demon twink power bottom on my show, and then you don't even have the audacity to send me audio of Rachel Bay Jones and Next to Normal.
Fine. Look, I just send everything automatically to Adam, and I assume he sends it to you.
No, I usually have to bring it up to listen, anytime I ask Adam if he has something, I get it within 5 seconds, but yeah. His mind doesn't go, I must send this to Matt. It tends to be, oh, well, yeah, I should send that to you. That's like, and then he does. But I'm always like the 5th on everybody's list. People think of me 5 months later. But
no.
What I think, I had a similar mentality going into Next to Normal, this production, as you did. Again, it was a show that wasn't incredibly important to me. The reviews from the Donmar were mostly solid, because this was, for all intents and purposes, a premiere for the West End. I think it had been done once in London, like briefly, sort of off West End, a few years ago, but this was like a genuine West End premiere. And so there was a lot of the reviews were both on the material as well as the production. And the feeling mostly was strong, if not like overly rapturous. And it got, Olivier nominated, it sold out. So they transferred it that summer. I was in London the week before it started previews, because they didn't announce the transfer until after I had booked my tickets. So I was I was a little annoyed, and I had debated asking my mom if we could push back a week so I could see it. But then I ended up not doing it. But that tends to be a recurring theme with me with London, is every time I go, like something really awesome's about to start the moment I leave. Like I just missed that. I had just missed Follies at the National. I had just missed The Company with Patty and Rosalie Craig. But the word of mouth once it had transferred was such that like, oh, this clicks even better than it did at Donmar. And so when the Pro Shot came out, I watched it. I have said openly on this podcast, I think Casey is an extraordinarily talented individual. I think she is one of the most misused talents on Broadway. I think she keeps getting put in things that are either a mismatch for her vocally. Like she's such a great singer, so it's not like it sounds bad, but I don't think she's really vocally right for Mother in Ragtime. She's vocally so overqualified in Carolina Change that it's kind of absurd. But Mother in Ragtime and Rose Stopnick in Carolina Change are acting-wise a good fit for her, because she is also a very good actress. But then the roles that are a fit for her vocally, like Ghost and Frozen, it's like, well, those are non-acting roles. So it's very rare that she gets a role for me where I'm like, oh, the vocals and the acting challenge mesh well for you. Murder Ballad was one where I went, oh, this is perfect for you. And so Next to Normal, I was like, okay, we'll see. And I don't know how you felt. I personally was genuinely blown away by what she brought to it. I thought it was I found it to be very raw, and it is a very healthy vocal place. There is no danger in that respect, but I don't mind it because I thought it sounded quite lovely. And there's certain notes that she hit that Alice never hit. Like in Just Another Day, when they get to the end of the It Hurts bit, she goes, it only hurts when I say. I just remember she belted that, and I was like, has that always been in the score? Because I've never heard that.
it's been there, but Alice flipped it. And so it gets lost in the blend. So that's the thing. Like, I've never seen anything that I felt was like, again, similar to you, like an exact match for what Casey can do.
Yeah.
I didn't see Murder Ballad. But yeah, I thought I agree with you on Mother. Like, I want a more legit voice on it.
Yeah. A thicker fold.
And yeah, just, you know, a little meaty fold.
Casey's voice doesn't live in the past. It lives in the now.
Yeah, and so it does feel occasionally a little too pop for me on that. And yeah, like Casey Levy doing Long Distance and Carolina Change is like, you know, hanging a picture with a sledgehammer. Like you don't need that much voice on it.
It's asking Diana Ross to sing "Send in the Clowns." It's like, that's not what. There are certain songs where when you actually have too good of a singer on it, it actually, I'm not gonna say it ruins. The ruins is a harsh term. She didn't do a bad job, but like, you know what I mean? When there are songs that are meant for a limited voice and then you put a stellar voice on it, the song starts to change in a way that's not great. And it's unfair to her, because I'm like, what is she supposed to do? Like, fucking give herself laryngitis so she can give us Vianne Cox realness? Like, no, she's not going to do that for our benefit.
Yeah. No, it is like Shirley Bassey doing Send in the Clowns. Like, it's just, which, hilarious.
Well, let's be, okay. I think that's being harsh to Casey, because Casey would not oversing something intentionally so. Shirley Bassey would.
Yes, which, okay, if for the listeners, if you don't know Shirley Bassey's Andrew Lloyd Webber album, you need to go and listen to Shirley Bassey singing Starlight Express, clearly having never heard the song, reading the lyrics off a piece of paper, and they're swinging it. She's like, when you're the nights have been saying and you are lying in bed, the covers pulled up tight. It is insane. And there are modulations. She is screaming about a train and has no idea what is happening. She is drunk off her ass, clearly. It is amazing. But favorite thing ever.
But also, it's that thing of, you know, I think it's easier for people to understand when someone is vocally not up to the task of something. It's harder for people to comprehend what it means to be vocally overqualified and what that does for songs sometimes. But that's what I mean. So anyway, back to what you were saying as you were leading up to your intro of Casey in this show.
So Casey, like, I thought she was absolutely devastating in it. I thought she was incredible. It was such a good match. My only little like quibble with it is Miss the Mountains. She ends it up. She like adds, you know, it's a little too riffy. It's a little too big, and ends it with an added high note and occasional additional riffs. She's still medicated at this point. Yeah. She still should be in a depressive state.
Or sedated.
And that made it too bright and too big. When I think when you eventually get to that key change and that one D that she pops, the I miss the lonely climb, is the only moment where she starts to feel a little bit of herself. Yeah. And then like I feel like she needs to get pulled back in. So it's like, I miss my life instead of I miss my life. Like, it doesn't need to end that big.
Yeah, it becomes, well, and you watch the recording, it becomes a bit of a showstopper, which, you know, it's a great standalone song, but it's, I get very perturbed with numbers that dramatically speaking are not showstoppers, but musically speaking become showstoppers. Speaking of Ragtime, I was at Ragtime again recently for reasons, and my thoughts on the show remain. My thoughts on this production actually have gotten a little bit worse, but there were certain numbers where dramatically, like, it's meant to be this like big devastating pouring out your heart kind of situation, and just like people cheering in the middle of long held notes, and I went, okay, so we're fully out of the drama of it now. It's fully a concert, which, you know, whatever, that's part of the whole thing people said about this production in general. But then you cannot tell me that the number moves you, because you're not applauding the emotion and the storytelling on a high note. You're applauding the high note, and you can't. I'm sorry, you can't convince me otherwise. You can do a whole bunch of gobbledygook like I do on this podcast. I will still smell your bullshit. What I love that Casey does, I have some notes on the London Pro Shot. Part of it is how it's filmed. I don't think it's perfect. It's very heavily edited, and sometimes that works really nicely, and other times I'm like, we can just stay on this shot for another 3 seconds.
Yeah.
I get very perturbed when pro shots want to be movies so badly, and I'm like, there's a sweeter spot. I think you need to be more of a stage capture with benefits than trying to actually be a full-blown movie, because you never will be. You'll never be glamour, but and then there's a couple of accent pieces that are not great. Like, I think Jamie Parker is wonderful in it. His American accent is very Kermit the Frog. Just
Yeah.
I am the one who healed you. Just it's and he's so good that I hate to say it because it sounds like that I'm nagging on his performance. I'm not. It's just listen to him in his American accent. I'm sorry, but you hear Kermit.
So who is the human in the Muppet Next to Normal?
I mean, I hate to say it, I think it's Diana. I think that's the only way to make it palatable. She's the human and everyone else is a Muppet. That's what makes her crazy.
Oh, maybe that's the world she's creating. Yeah. I mean,
unless it's Natalie, but I no. Or Dr. Madden.
Or it's the doctor. Yeah, I think it's Dr. Madden.
Everyone else is a Muppet.
Everyone else is a Muppet. I mean, Piggy being Diana is kind of hysterical, but
sure, especially when Casey picks up that chair and starts swinging it. That's something Piggy would do. But yeah. I mean, I think that's my only other real qualm, is other than the camera angles and then some of the accent work. The amount of emotion that production has is astounding. There are a couple of times where I'm like, I don't think we need to sob here. There's
a lot of sobbing.
There's a lot of sobbing, and I would say 90% of it is effective and makes sense. There are a couple of moments, and who knows? It might be that people were getting emotional because they filmed it towards the end of the run. They filmed it over a couple of days, so I'm sure there's also a lot of exhaustion in there. Of like, I'm sure there are moments that Eleanor Worthington Cox wasn't necessarily crying on the 8 show a week, but because it was the 12th take of the scene, she's like,
please let me go home.
Yeah, she's just like sobbing. But
they're making British equity money. I mean, come on.
I know. It's roof. But otherwise, I think it's pretty astounding. What I love about Casey's performance, and I love it about it in the beginning, and I don't want to disregard what Alice did, because I want to make it clear, when Alice opened the show, the whole narrative around her performance was how like wild and organic and raw it was. You didn't see a performance like this in a musical often. And it was. There is that energy to it. But also, Alice did not come out the gate manic in the opening. Rewatching that production at the library, I was surprised how many times Greif wanted to surprise the audience, like with twists. And a couple of things, I think, for me, undermined the emotional potency of the show because of that. And part of it is Diana. Alice plays it very, I hate to say calm, but like a little calm at the beginning of Just Another Day. And so the bread sandwich making becomes this twist about her. Like, at first you think she's just sort of a little eccentric. She says weird things. She says Happy Easter because the calendar's still on April. But then she starts to get manic, and it's like, oh no, something's wrong here. Casey, something's wrong off the bat. It's not overdone, but you can tell she's in the middle of an episode already. The way she's overly sexual with Dan, the way she's like, not even just of offering sex, but like even after they've had sex, she's just being a little too much. And Natalie can clock it when she says she's on fire this morning, and it gives you this insight of who Dan is without even having to do the asides. Maybe that's a great way to solve it, of just like, we're seeing something's already off with Diana, and Dan's kind of just breezing past it. Natalie's clocking it, but she's also used to her mother being this way. So she's not necessarily sure if it's an episode or if it's just her mom being her mom. And Gabe's not acknowledging any of it because Gabe is not real.
Is a ghost.
He's a twin ghost.
Boys will make it tragic. I don't know.
I don't know. We'll come up with a theme song about twin goats. We'll do it at some point, and we'll have the AI voice of Shirley Bassey sing it. But so when Casey's doing the sandwiches, rather than being a twist, it becomes a culmination of everything that's been building up to that number. That number has a frantic energy in the London production that I'd never felt it had in the original. And part of it is the design. It's very stark lighting. The whole thing takes place in the house. There's a turntable. We all know I'm a whore for a turntable. Oof. But also just the way that Casey plays that number and builds up to it, it becomes this inevitable conclusion. Like she's been building up to this. And I also just love that when the number ends and they're watching her, the way she says, everything is good, I'm just making sandwiches on the floor. With Alice, it was done sort of as a punchline. She like realizes that she's lost the thread for a minute. She goes, everything's fine. I'm just making sandwiches on the floor. But Casey's still making the sandwiches, and and in her mind, it all makes sense. And this was a video I was watching of someone talking about this as they were sort of reacting to the video. They said the thing about having these manic highs is, and what makes it scary to you is everything makes sense to you. And the moment you realize it's making sense to no one else is when it gets terrifying, because then you can't trust yourself anymore. And so that is sort of what Casey is playing, of like, everything is always going to make sense to Diana until someone points out that it doesn't. And that's when you see like the switch go off in her brain of like, oh shit, I just had an episode and I didn't even realize it. And I love that. And that carries over to the scenes where she's having pain and confusion and frustration. I know. I just really like it. You watch it and I'm like, yep, that's what Casey Levy can do. And I wish Broadway would use it more.
Yep. And maybe we'll get it. I don't know if we are. The rumor is no.
Yeah, it keeps going back and forth. The rumor was that it was coming, and then that it wasn't, and then that it was, but only with her, and that they were going to hold off until the Tonys to announce it. And then it was off again. And then there was a rumor that Pink was doing it.
With her daughter.
Yep, which I kind of call bullshit on.
A, because I don't think Pink wants to do 8 shows a week. B, Pink is not an actress in any real way. Like, has not done a lot of television or film or theater.
Yeah, we have never seen Pink put in work as an actress. Maybe she has the goods, I don't know, but we've never seen it, and I don't know if she even knows if she has it.
And this would be a heavy fucking lift for your first thing to be like, can I act? Let me do this devastating, like, in-depth, like, heavy lift.
Yeah, a role that has fully destroyed trained actresses in the last 17 years.
Yeah, several. And that was the thing with Alice's original performance. It was kind of a performance that we had not seen since Tanya in Carolina Change. Just a woman throwing herself full push into the piece.
Keep talking sexy to me, Brian. Talk more about Tanya Pink and Carolina Change.
Like, that performance devastated me. And, then got to know Tanya later on and work with her on a bunch of stuff. Last musical I ever did in New York was Tanya's production of Mother Courage.
And that's what turned you off of doing theater in New York
and
ever
that's
again?
why I basically stopped doing theater in New York. Go read the Times articles. But like Alice's performance was just guttural and brilliant. And so to see Casey do that kind of work while still being able to just like maintain it vocally but still be fully emotionally accessible it's gorgeous. It's really lovely. So I hope she gets to do it.
Yeah, and it's really fucking hard to do, because when we talk about healthy singing, which we should always prioritize. I want people to have long vocal careers.
Sure.
And I've also talked about, certain scores for me that are really only thrilling when there is that little bit of danger to it. I've said before, I don't actually know if I think Dead Girl Walking is a good song, or if it's just that Barrett Wilbert Weed and her freak voice does it for me on that song. Or like, I actually genuinely think that Evita is a phenomenal score, or if it's just that Patti LuPone and her freak ass 29-year-old voice could do what it could do, because really no other woman after Patti has been able to thrill me on that score. The only one who's been able to do it since is Rachel Zegler. But, but healthy, which is
McGee,
which is craziness to me.
Yeah.
This is
I
where
went back and saw Evita the next day. Like, I went to go see Evita because I'm like, okay, I should go see this. And was so thrilled with how it was sung that I had a slot open for another show the next day in London. I'm like, I could go see Benjamin Button. I'm like, or I could camp out at the box office and see if a single becomes available to see Evita again. And went back the next day. And it's unbelievably thrilling the way she's singing that score.
Yeah.
It's beautifully placed.
That was another one. Evita was starting 3 weeks after I left London, and I regret it to this day.
Should have gone back, bitch. It's
Should have gone back. Well, maybe I'll finally get to see it as a drama desk voda. The thing about the ECT that I want to just mention to people, because this is a hot button discussion with the show, is it is often said that when you do ECT, there is some temporary memory loss. Emphasis on the temporary, and it's usually short term. They often say when there's a whole section in the Mayo Clinic website talking about like, here's what ECT actually is, here's how we do it, like here's why you shouldn't be afraid of it, and like here are all the concerns people have, and we understand, but here's blah 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 blah. So like you are sedated, you given muscle relaxants, you are, it's very short moments, very low current, blah blah blah. And they say, yeah, you wake up, you're confused for a few hours, like you may not remember where you are. Eventually it'll all come back. Sometimes you get, memory loss. It tends to be short term, and a lot of it comes back. And they say, like, in very rare cases, a couple of months will go missing. And in extraordinarily rare cases, a couple of years. It seems like 0.001% of patients have a 19-year gap. And Diana's the 119-year. And what the show talks about, which doctors have also said is true, is it's selective amnesia, that it's primarily patients will subconsciously lose the memories of the traumatic events that can sometimes exacerbate their mental health. And so for someone like Diana, that starts with the loss of Gabe, and that is why it's such a large block. Now, is it super realistic? Not necessarily. Is it possible? Sure, a lot of things are possible. But the show makes it a point to, I don't even think they make it a point, but the very fact that Diana starts to regain her memories, and the very fact that once the Gabe quota is unlocked by Dr. Madden, because again, Dan doesn't want to bring it up to her. He's saying in time, we'll tell her about it in time. And then Madden is the one who reveals to her that she had a son, and then it all sort of comes flooding back. She also is kind of in a more balanced place in Act 2. She's able to hold these coherent conversations with Natalie and with Dan in a way that I don't think she was really ever able to in Act 1. And so I hate to say this, I don't know if this sounds controversial or not. In a lot of ways, Next to Normal kind of shows you that the ECT worked a little bit. And I think that a lot of audiences misinterpret it, like she has the memory loss of it. ECT is a hack, and this show is putting a dangerous stigma on electroshock therapy and bipolar disorder. I'm like, I don't know. They're using a lot of dramatic license, but she does end the show in a better place than she was. And I don't think it's in spite of the ECT. I do think it actually helped. The ECT gave her the clarity to understand her misdiagnosis from years past, and give her a clarity to try something new going forward. Is it dangerous? Who knows? But as I said to Adam Ellsbury in Landing the Piazza, this is 2 deep dives back to back about mothers ignoring medical advice.
Oh, that's it. Maybe Gabe got kicked by a horse.
That's what it was. But this time in the stomach, it was a bowel obstruction.
Yeah. And that's why you don't bring an 8-month-old to a petting zoo.
And that's why you always leave a note.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, yes, she does end up in a much better place. And it did kind of, forgetting Gabe entirely, gave her a way to approach him in a different way and let him go.
Yeah.
In a way that she couldn't before. So the point of, especially when they were first talking about writing the show about ECT, was that they wanted to be critical of it. And said they wrote a piece that does show that it kind of was effective in this case.
Yeah. Whether they meant it or not, I don't know. But I watch it and I go, to say that it worked, it implies that there's one like cure-all thing for mental health. There isn't. It's a constant. It's something that you live with, and it's a constant that you have to keep working with. And sometimes the right medication only works for 10 years, and then all of a sudden your brain chemistry gets too used to it, and then something else happens. And I do think that in this case it does help her, whether anyone in the show openly says it or not. Because as you
Mhm.
said, yeah, she's able to approach the Gabe trauma objectively first, and as she remembers it objectively, she then starts to live in it again, and then is able to fight for the closure that she never got,
Mhm.
and speak on behalf of herself in a way that she never was able to before, which I really admire. But that also kind of then exposes the Diana Dan relationship, which is an interesting one.
Mhm.
Some people like to say that Dan is the villain of this piece. Some people like to say it's Gabe. Some people like to say there is no villain. I like the idea that there is no villain of this show. I think it's everyone doing what they think is their best and
Mhm.
learning that maybe they had the wrong mentality for what their best was all
Mhm.
along. Uh, how would you describe Dan as a person and then how he is with Diana?
Look, everyone in this piece is just trying to get through their another day. It only
One
hurts
might
when I
say.
breathe. It only hurts when I work. It only hurts when I all those lines in the
It only
opening.
hurts when I say.
Yeah. It
She
only
says
hurts.
that she's holding a frying pan, by the way.
Yeah.
Casey.
Which the thing is, like, I. It's interesting that Gabe's line is it only hurts when I'm here.
That's his
Is that
first one. It
right?
only hurts when I'm here.
Yeah.
And then she says, it
So
only hurts when he goes.
yeah. Which is interesting. Like it does play more into like the Jack Wolf London version of he's trying, like, Gabe is trying to get something. He's
Uh-huh.
trying to get basically back to the land of the living. And that when he's kind of removed from that, he's devastated sitting on the upper platform. Oh, P.S. By the way, one note, uh, I don't need the band on stage for every rock musical. I
Same.
don't need it. I don't
Same.
fucking need it. I don't understand why, we did it in the original production, but now every production of Next to Normal has to have the band on stage in the upper level of the house.
Yeah. I found it distracting in the London production as well, especially because they have the
Yeah.
screens and they keep going up and down and up and down. And I'm like, I want to live with the characters.
Yeah. Why is Gabe hanging out in the drum room? Fucking close it. Like,
Because
it
drummers are
doesn't make any
hot,
sense.
Brian, and let Gabe get his boy.
Look, I only know a few gay drummers, and they're great. They're lovely.
They know what to do with their hands. And
They do,
and they've got good rhythm.
and they can bang it out. So, shout out to Justin Tambini in London. Hi. My favorite, like, one of my favorite gay drummers in the world. Like, well, he's bi,
Sure.
but whatever. He should have played that show. I'm sure Jack would have enjoyed that. But, yeah. So, side note, if you're directing Next to Normal, hide the band.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's fine. So,
but Dan,
we're talking
Dan
about
and
Dan. So look, he is just trying to get through. And if we're going ahead with the kind of theory of everyone being a representation of different ways to deal with grief, yes, he is in denial and he's going to try to get through this, and he's going to try to make things okay for her. As someone who's been in a long-term relationship with someone who had some undiagnosed severe mental health issues, yeah, you're just trying to get through that day and trying to make them okay in any way that you can and be a stabilizing force. And he thinks the best way to do that is to just pretend that it's fine. And yes, we'll do whatever we have to do. We'll go see another doctor. We will go and, get new meds, and we'll make it better. We're just going to make this better. And it's going to be good. And like that little optimistic fanfare that happens at the top of it is the way he's going to get through every day. He's going to shunt aside whatever he was feeling in order to make sure she's okay and to try to make things stable for Natalie. So I don't think he's a villain at all. Is what he's doing misguided? Absolutely. But he's just trying to make it okay at any cost.
Yeah, I think we get a brief flashback of them as college undergrads when she's pregnant, and you see that he has much more passion for the idea of them getting married and having this baby than she does at first. And she says, when the baby came, it all made sense. And I think that what surprised her is how naturally she gravitated towards motherhood. But Dan, I think, was always in on this more than she ever was. And the love she has for him I think developed over time, but also never quite the way that it needed to be. And
Mm-hmm.
I also think they also added a song for Dana between second stage and Arena, which is I think it's called "I Was Here." I was
Yeah.
here, my side, which has a great reveal in the Broadway staging. It's one of my
Mm-hmm.
favorite things that Greif does, which is because they talked about how the audience never really understood the gravity of Diana trying to take her own life. And so when Dan goes back to the house to clean up, he's on the chair that Diana was in, and he's wiping the chair, puts his hand in the bucket, and wrings the rag out and drains it, and blood comes out. And I
Mm-hmm.
just remember the entire audience going, "Ugh," and because
Mm-hmm.
it was you weren't expecting it, because he first did it with water, then goes on the chair, puts it inside, and then drags it out. I have to imagine that there were two rags in that bucket. One had water
Yeah.
and one had blood. Yeah, because it's just it's so good. But it was one of those moments where he's doing it sort of he's not like devastated when he's doing it. He's kind of pushing through, like he's soldiering on in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that it's very clear that Dan loves Diana so much, but also I think he's yearning for the woman that he fell in love with all these years ago, and is hoping that every time that they try something new, they'll get closer to who she once was. And it's also hard to see a person that you love in pain so much and you want to help them, but then over the years, you just become used to that person being the person in pain. And then you start to kind of take on a new role, which is like kind of their savior. Have you,
Mm-hmm.
Brian, are you a Heartstopper boy? No? Yes?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Are you
absolutely.
are you fully up to date?
I have not watched the movie.
Okay. Have you read all the books then?
No.
Okay. So
I've
okay,
just seen the series.
okay. So I don't want to spoil too much, but Charlie and Nick go through their biggest rough patch in the movie slash the final book
Mm-hmm.
of the series. And one of the things is, I mean, this part isn't a spoiler for you. Charlie's had a lot of issues leading up to this movie.
Right.
And actually his discussion of when he's in the health facility saying, you know, part of me wonders if I originally didn't want to get better, not because I didn't want to be healthy, but because the idea of putting in that work just sounded so exhausting. It's felt easier to just stay where I was. That is
Mm-hmm.
that was a breakthrough for me and sort of locking in on Diana. But because of all of those years with Nick and Charlie together, of, you know, Nick being Charlie's protector from bullies, Nick helping Charlie through his eating disorder, and then like Charlie in the movie, he's really kind of blossoming. He's, you know, doing well in school. He has a job. He's doing a lot of things that you should do. He's growing up. And while Nick is very happy for him, Nick is also kind of realizing that so much of his life has been wrapped up in being Charlie's protector. And rather than create more things for his own life of like, okay, now maybe I should get a job, maybe I should, he ends up falling into a depression, because he's like, if Charlie doesn't need me, who am I anymore, and who am I to
Mm-hmm.
him? Because we're together because he needed me. I still need him to need me. And I find that same mentality with Dan here of like, if I'm not here to help her, who am I? Who am I even to her? I need her to need me. So while he does want her to get better, and he's never going to do anything to make her not get better, it's also he's now used to the idea of being the savior and being the protector. And I think that I just think that that's not that that's something that he prides himself on so much as that that's part of his normal now, and he's not even aware of it.
Yeah, he spent 18 years being her caretaker, sole provider for this family,
Hmm.
and Diana can't drive.
Yeah.
Like, he is literally the driving force in the family. So, because she fucking can't, and Natalie doesn't have her license yet.
No,
Well,
not
maybe
yet.
she does.
I think she's
Yeah.
got her learners. No, she does. I think she does have her license, because they talk about Diana teaching Natalie to drive, and they ran over the cat.
Right. Yeah, they ran over the cat, and then, like, well, here's the question. So, there's a moment where Diana at the end is like, okay, I'm going to take you to your dance.
Yeah,
How?
it's a great question. Well, so first, thing is, it appears that Natalie drives Diana to her doctor. That is
Right. I have to
part
take
of the
my
reason-
mom to her doctor. Yeah.
Yeah, part of the reason why Diana calls out for Natalie is she, needs someone to take her. So they go. I don't know. Maybe in that moment, Diana decides she's going to drive Natalie now. I don't know. It's
Don't
don't do it. Don't you do
don't
it.
do it.
I don't know.
Don't you do it, little girl.
I know, but I also like maybe Natalie is the one who drives, and it's more that Diana is escorting her there. It's just the idea of I'm your mother, so you may be driving, but I'm taking you.
Mhm.
But then the question becomes, how does Diana get home? But again, these are
Whatever.
things. These are Brian. These are things. These are insignificant details. But I think what I love about that interaction with her and Natalie, because it is a almost completely rewritten scene from second stage. The dramatic moment remains. Like nothing in the story really changes with Next to Normal. They kept the plot pretty intact, but they would take other cracks at how to get in there. And that scene between her and Natalie, I always enjoy because you understand just from the way that it's written and the way that, both Alice and Casey have played it, that she is in a more stable place. Maybe for how long, who knows? But in this moment, she's got her feet on the ground and she's able to talk concisely and clearly. And Natalie wants it, but she also can't trust it because for 16 years, that hasn't been her life with Diana. And she still wants to be the daughter in this moment. And she's saying what she needs to say, which is like, basically, you've been a terrible mom to me for 16 years, not because of of where you are mentally, because of like all the other things that have contributed to this. Just like with the Gabe of it all. And Diana doesn't deny it. She doesn't argue with her, but she does say the thing that no one was willing to say, which is exactly what happened with Gabe. And that kind of, by giving Natalie that information that she never had before, is sort of an act of trust, I don't know. My sister sometimes will complain when she's like, why don't our parents like tell us the truth about the situation that's going on? I'll be like, well, because we're their kids and they still think of us that way. And she's like, right, but I'm 39. I'm like, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm like, but it doesn't matter how old we get. Our parents are always going to think of us that way. And so I think Diana giving Natalie this closed off piece of information for the first time is a way of saying like, I am opening up to you more and trusting you more. And that is the only investment I can give you right now, but take it and know that that's what I'm doing. And Natalie accepts it, which then I think is how Natalie's able to then briefly be the parent again for Dan at the end of the show. I really love when Diana leaves and, Dan and Gabe have their moment and Natalie shows up. And Dan finally breaks down. He finally has his real big cry, which he's always needed. This fills up this whole entire show. And for the first time, Natalie's not thinking about, her own pain anymore. Because it's always been like, Mom, like your mother's going through something. But it's always her. Or like, Natalie, we need to talk about this. I don't want to. And then she sees just how much her dad's been bottling up and she comes to his aid. And she begins the song Alighted, like, okay, let's start slow. Let's turn on some lights. You can't sit here all alone. And I always get very moved when people show up for people and stuff.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen often in life. So when it happens in shows, I'm very happy.
Like that moment is so lovely. And I'm really glad that's part of the reason why they cut it from the top of the second stage version. Yeah. So our first introduction to light is Natalie basically turning on the light for her father. And that's another moment in London where when Natalie says something along the lines of like, okay, I guess it's just us now. And you watch Gabe break. And it's like, it's finally his exclusion from the family. Like he's been let go.
And then what does Jack Wolf do? He walks past Eleanor Worthington Cox, lightly puts his hand on her hand, and then walks away. And Eleanor Worthington Cox does like a quick
whoa.
Yeah. She's like, the fuck was that?
Yep. Which, great.
Yeah.
Because she's the only one who hasn't like really interacted with him,
Yeah.
like in a kind of text way. It did also kind of remind me of what they're doing at Rocky Horror now, with the callbacks, with the asshole and slut callbacks. Because I saw first preview and no one knew what to do. And so now when somebody calls out asshole or slut at Brennan and Jad, Janet and Brad, Brandon and Jad, did I just have a stroke? Do you smell toast? Through the screen.
It's just another day.
Jesus Christ. So when the audience yells asshole and slut at Janet and Brad, they just kind of look around like they've heard a whisper of a ghost somewhere.
Yeah. No, I love it. I love it so much.
A great fucking bit. It
good. Always sounds. The reaction is exactly that. I always describe it as like they heard something in the pipes, like in the wall. They're like, what? What was that? It's so good.
It's so funny. It's so good. And have you seen it with you saw with Sherry? Yeah.
Oh, no, I want to go back to see it with Sherry. If I can find a way to do it, I want to see it with Sherry before Stephanie, Andrew, and Luke leave.
You need
because I'm sure that Kevin and Lorna will all be good, but like I was such a fan of Stephanie, and I saw the night before it opened, and I thought that she had it figured out, and I'm sure it's even better now.
It clicked in a way because I saw Sherry's first performance so it was still the understudy on for Columbia.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden the show clicked in a way that it really had not early on in previews. Mainly because Sherry knows how to set a fucking tone, and it is perfect.
I think we talked about this because so you did send me the audio of Sherry. Sorry,
I did.
He didn't do nothing.
No.
But I had said one of the biggest problems with the original company with Rocky Horror, and I enjoy my Juliette Lewis. She's not a musical theater girly. She started that show on an uneasy foot and ended it on an uneasy foot. So even all the goodwill that had been built up after science fiction, and it took a while, but like we eventually got there, and then it all kind of dissipated with the finale. And I was like, ugh. And I've just imagined, because Sherry is Sherry and knows what to do, you build the goodwill earlier so you can enjoy the show earlier, and then it doesn't dissipate at the end. You're just like, and we end with Sherry and her big old tits.
Yep. And the thing is, like, Sherry knows how to do, it's kind of like what she was doing in that first reveal in Queen of Versailles, where when, the screen swiped aside and you saw Kristen, and Kristen was just sitting there begging the audience to love her. And the screen swiped aside and Sherry was just kind of staring vacantly out at the audience. I'm like, oh, you have a point of view on this woman. Juliette Lewis was so deadpan in science fiction, she might as well have actually been dead. And just vocally uncomfortable. Sherry is giving like glazed kind of Michael Rennie was like, I am setting a tone and then I'm going to screlt a bunch of E flats at you.
Of course she is, because she can and she always should.
Did you see her thing yesterday?
With
her like in the car?
Adam sent it to me. Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Because I saw Aida in Chicago out of town before it came in. And, opening numbers happening. And then we get to, this is a story of a love that flourished in a time of Cain of lovers. She like belts an F, and I sat bolt upright in my little gay chair, and I was like, who the fuck is this woman, and what is this show? And I am in. And her, 30 years later, 25 years later, 25 years later, just on a road trip, just fully scream belting it in the car. Yes.
If you guys don't know what we're talking about, either join the Discord because somebody posted it there, or just go to Sierra Vargas's Instagram. She shared it, and Gunkel shared it with me. Listen, in this house, we will always worship Sherry Renee Scott, and I've said this before. There are two double features that shaped who I am. One double feature made me gay. One double feature made me an esoteric fuck. The first one is seeing Maren Maisie and Amy Spanger and Kiss Me Kate and Michael Buress, followed by Sherry Renee Scott and Heather Headley and Aida, literally, and Adam Pascal, honestly, both leading men with hairy chests. I think within like 3 or 4 months of each other. I'm pretty sure that's what made me gay. And then 4 years later, Carol Leonard Change in May of 2004, followed by Lenny the Piazza in April of 2005, turned me into the theater kid I am. So that's that's what you have to blame, everybody.
Sexy, squelching, esoteric fuckery. Clearly.
Yes. And again, just 2 deep dives in a row where I'm just like, and Michael Perez. It's just,
Oh,
I know.
Look, lean into a niche. But also Amy Spanger and Sherry Renee Scott, both early Diana Goodmans.
True. Ooh, you know, it'd be a good Diana Goodman.
Hmm.
Heather Headley.
Oh, that placement.
Heather motherfucking Headley.
I miss the mountains. Like just every vowel is opposite. Yeah.
Yep. But which works for that role. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
It
does.
I think there are multiple ways to get into Diana. And I think the way that Casey does it is perfect for Casey. And what I love about what Casey does is because so much of Act 1 is so manic and messy, the safety of the voice, I think, keeps you from getting uncomfortable.
Yeah.
There's a difference between being like uncomfortable for like being pressured by a piece of storytelling that then makes you learn things about yourself or reveal things about yourself, and then there's the uncomfortable of like, I'm not uncomfortable for me, I'm uncomfortable for you. And I think Casey has that right balance. Alice had a really strong balance early in the run, but I agree. I think as it got further along, things started to fall off the rails. I would love to hear Rachel. Just you know,
will.
Thank you. I'm interested to know what Christiane Knoll was like. She did it in Connecticut at Hartford, I believe.
I'm sure it was nice.
I'm sure it was perfectly fine. I read that she did it. She did like the first major regional production, I think. No, that's not true. Mm-hmm. But she did a major regional production. And I'm always going, what was she like? But now I'm just wondering, you know, what would Heather bring to it? Sherry, unfortunately, is past the age, because the thing is, Diana and Dan are younger than people realize. They are in their early 40s.
And that is the thing that does freak me out a little bit. Like, Casey Levy doesn't seem like a Diana to me. She seems too young. And then you do the math and you're like, oh, fuck. Like, Natalie Joy Johnson just played it recently. I'm like, Natalie Joy Johnson is not anybody's mom. And then you do the math and then it's like, okay, she's probably a little, she will not mind me saying this, a little older than Alice was when she did it.
Yeah.
She just reads younger because, you know, 46 in these days is very different than 46 in 2007 is very different than 46 in 1953.
It's true. I mean, listen, Casey takes very good care of herself, and that is a beautiful thing. Also, she's only like what, 44, 45?
Yeah, she's like 44.
Yeah, I also feel like she's a bit she's always a bit younger than people think, just because she's been around for like 22 years.
Yeah.
Came from Canada and immediately booked Broadway and just kept working because
and
she's
exceptionally well hydrated. But that said, like I saw Natalie do it in at Barrington Stage, and that was a performance that, you know, she sang the hell out of it, and the acting of it, again, get a comic actor to do a devastating piece and you're going to be surprised as hell.
Listen, we talk about this all the time of some of the best actors have been able to master comedy and drama, or started in comedy and then threw us all for a wrench. Sally Field, one of the best criers in film, used to be the flying goddamn nun. Okay? That's how we knew her.
The flying nun!
Mm-hmm. Robin Williams of Mork and Mindy fame, amazing dramatic actor. You know, or fucking Emma Thompson used to be in sketch comedy. Like look at what we're talking about, Mia. The last thing I wanted to ask you about the material itself, the Gabe thing of because what makes the reveal of Gabe happens early in the show. After I Miss the Mountains and Diana's offer for meds, and they're doing It's Gonna Be Good, and it all culminates with Natalie's boyfriend Henry, who we haven't spoken of once this entire episode.
He's lovely.
Henry. I think Henry's like a very sweet, soft heart who I'll be honest, I've always kind of never totally bought that relationship on paper. It's really up to the actors to sell it to me. And I did think Adam Chandler Barat was so adorable on the Broadway production. I'm a little less up on the guy in the London cast, but I think he and Eleanor have very good chemistry, and so I'm not as big on his performance, but I'm okay with the relationship, if that makes sense.
I'm fine with it. I think Adam really made that performance, made that role work in a way that I've rarely seen work that well
Yeah, it's
since.
well because he's also often meant to be comedic relief. He's a stoner and he like breaks Natalie out of her shell. And there are things he says that it's very easy to not get a laugh on that Adam made seem so easy.
Hmm.
And the yeah, it's like just certain lines that I've watched other Henrys not get the laugh on. Like towards the end of the "Have you heard from your mom?" Yeah, she's with my grandparents. Beat. Do they exist? And like, or
Hmm.
like, do they actually exist? And I've heard like the guy in London says this sort of like as a joke, and the audience kind of chuckles. And I saw it done in Brooklyn, and the Henry was like trying to be super dorky about it, and the audience didn't know how to feel about that. But I just remember
Yeah.
Adams asking it so earnestly that the audience had permission to laugh because
Yeah.
they were like, "Thank you for saying what we were all thinking." Where he's like,
Well,
"Yeah,
and
she's thinking,
he should be our in. He should be
yeah,
like our conduit to this fucked up family.
yeah." But so
So
this is to
he's
say,
us.
yeah, it's the easy way to get exposition out is you invite someone new who doesn't know anything, or in a friend group who doesn't like. It's the brilliant thing about Sex and the City is always in those friend groups when one of them has a story going on, you always have three girls at the table know the story, but one doesn't. So it's like Miranda's not doesn't know, but so like Carrie will begin and Charlotte will like add a detail, so it doesn't sound so exposition heavy. It sounds like a
Hmm.
conversation. But so Henry doesn't really know the family. And when he shows up, Diana comes out with a birthday cake. And I remember Adam used to get a laugh on this because he would look around and go like, huh, whose birthday is it? And you just saw Jen Damiano just go. She played it very annoyed, my brothers. I remember Eleanor
Hmm.
Worthington Cox. She was much more kind of, it was like the floor fell out from under her when she said my
Yeah.
brothers, because in London it kind of is implied that this might be the first time that this has been openly done by Diana, whereas on Broadway it felt a little bit more like it's happened in the past. And I want to chat with you about a bit more before we get to the final conclusion of this episode. Final conclusion. What am I? But there's only one conclusion, Brian. But
Oh.
yeah, it's the I didn't know you had a brother. I don't. He died when I was a baby, and that it's just important to re-say that on mic because some people will be like, "But I don't know next normal. How is it we find out that Gabe is a ghost twink?" Natalie
Hmm.
tells us, and you should always trust an ingenue.
Yep. Yep. A sad, sad perfectionist ingenue.
Yes, but so my question for you is, in your interpretation, the Gabe stuff
Hmm.
has this. Do we think this is a new occurrence, or is this something that has always been kind of happening with Diana?
I think it's new in its frequency and how much it's manifesting.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's kind of he might have always been there as a little bit of a voice in her head, but now he's just really showing up as subconsciously he is going to turn 18 and leave the house.
Mm-hmm.
So she's trying to hold on to him as long as possible. I do think it's manifested a little bit just in that, she, Jennifer, no, Natalie knows that it's his birthday.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is a day that's known in this house.
Yeah. And yeah,
If we don't ever talk about him and he's something that doesn't exist, I don't know why she would know that it was his birthday.
that's the thing that always confused me of, has this happened before? Is this a date that everyone knows but we just don't talk about?
Mm-hmm.
Or is Natalie maybe putting the pieces together of it's no one's birthday but mom has a cake. Oh god, it must be
Yeah.
Gabe's birthday.
Yeah.
I think if I were doing the dramaturgy for a production or just flat out directing a production, I I I think there is a lot of lot of meal to be had of this idea of Natalie being told at an early age that she had a brother who died before she was born, and over the years she would ask a question here and there and only get one answer out of every like 10, and then just eventually stopped
Mm-hmm.
asking. But it is still information that it's all this information that everybody knows. But there's also something kind of, I don't know, it's kind of bleak about if it is actually Gabe's birthday on that day, how they're all acting in general before Diana
Mm-hmm.
comes out with the cake. Like,
Yeah.
just no acknowledgement at all. And the bubbliness of that song and of, because like Dan has to know if it's his birthday, Dan must remember. Is he also not being manic in the song to push it so far down? Has Natalie just forgotten because it's been 16 years and she never knew Gabe? And Henry's just purely giddy because he doesn't know that Gabe fucking exists.
Yeah. And he's just meeting his girlfriend's family for the first time.
Mm-hmm. Because they've been dating for 16 weeks.
Yeah. 9 weeks? 9 weeks and 3 days.
Something like that. Sorry, everybody. Yeah. What is time? I just know it's it's
been a minute.
It's been at least 2 months. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in high school time, that's like basically a year.
That is forever. Yeah. I mean, I think that does contribute to Dan's mania about it. Mm-hmm. Even whether or not he's acknowledging or really remembers that that's the day. That's part of the reason why he's so like manic about keeping the tone light, keeping it up. But I mean, secrets in a family are weird. Like, I had a brother that I didn't know existed who died before I was born. And I didn't know about it until I was like probably 8 or 9. And my sister told me. And I didn't believe her that there was a kid in between her and me who died, like was born really prematurely and died like hours after he was born. So went to my mom and asked. And she acknowledged it was true. And we just never had talked about it. And it was never spoken of in my house. And that was like the one conversation we've ever had about it. So secrets in families are weird. There was stuff that is never acknowledged.
There's also something so... Listen, to bury a child in general is a devastation that I do not ever wish to know. It's partly why I don't have kids.
Yeah.
And also because I have no patience. But, says the man with a 4-hour podcast. But... there is a certain devastation in bearing a child of when they're an infant, before your child can really start to have a personality, to have memories of their own, right? Mm-hmm. Of all of the loss that of time, of just opportunities and all these things. And I think that it's interesting to see how, different parents treat that of, do we continually mourn the child that we lost, or do we make that a footnote, for lack of a better term, because A, it's very painful, but also we need to continue to build upon our lives, and we can't create a shrine to, a very small moment of time that was extraordinarily devastating. And that is something that I think Dan does, of we have to build, and ultimately I don't think the idea of building is wrong, but they do it just too soon. That's the problem of, before everyone is ready, they start building a new house. And if we learned anything about building a house on the wrong grounds from Poltergeist, it's no good. The kid you have will go.
Well.
No, the kid you do have will go into a closet, and it'll be really hard to get her out.
Closet, into a television. Well, it depends on which version we're watching.
Does she always have a television? Does she go into the television? They get her out of the closet in Poltergeist.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm confused today. In is out, up is down, closets are TVs.
Sure.
And Patti LuPone is now a top, apparently.
Patti LuPone is a verse top on the seas.
But no, that's just in maritime law. On dry land, she is a demon twink bottom.
Yep. Yeah. That also tracks.
There's Vacation Patty, and then there's 9 to 5 Patty.
Vacation Patty is fun, you guys.
Yeah. My last thing about Next to Normal, and I forgot that this was something that always kind of bugged me until I watched the London live tape. Because the thing is, the Broadway production, I felt, cut against the finale of Light being, this big let's all stand and sing number by having staging going on. And to kind of bring it full circle, they have this moment where Natalie brings Henry back to the house. They're studying. And as they're singing, everyone's singing Light, and Diana's isolated on a level, and Gabe's on a level, and Dan comes out with a birthday cake for Natalie, so it mirrors the Diana cake, but this time it's real. And I really always liked that moment of Natalie kind of getting acknowledged for, her life now. And I know Jen smiling and laughing for like kind of the first time the entire show.
Ever?
Yeah. But I loved details like that, because my thing is that the London production, for the most part, is actually extraordinarily detailed in all of the intricacies of the characters, except for Light, where it actually just becomes like, God, I hate to say this because I do love what everyone's doing for the most part, but there's a shot of Eleanor right as she's about to sing her solo of Light with Henry. She's like, "You're my favorite problem, Henry." And then she just turns right out and she goes, "But day after day." And it's very college musical theater presentation. And it sticks out like a sore thumb because the rest of those performances are so good. So when shit like that happens, again, it's just like so egregious. And that whole number is just everyone now standing forward and Casey's at the center. And it bugs me because that number often is used in, showcases. It has that sort of like, "And now we're all sent to stage and we sing." It's the Lost Boys. It's fucking, it's the "Do You Hear the People Sing" finale, which no one has ever been able to do as well as Les Mis ever since.
Yeah.
But everyone wants to do it. Titanic wants to do it. Ragtime wants to do it. Everybody wants to come forward and be like, "And love and
is the answer and we're fine." Yeah.
Yes. And like Light is a beautiful song, but it does have that now we're in 5-part harmony singing about how we made it through the storm. And the original production I felt was able to cut against that for the most part in a way that the London production doesn't. And it's just so interesting because in almost every other way, I find that the London production adds even more than the Broadway production did, except for that number. And it's just a shame it's the last number.
Yeah. Yeah. They bought so much goodwill at that point. I'm okay.
I'm sure if I were in the theater watching it, I wouldn't have cared. I just would have cried.
Yeah.
But watching it now in my home on my couch with no pants on, furious but sailing.
Well, also that close up of her going day after day, like
It's they did her a little dirty with that shot, I find, because again, everyone else, the whole rest of the show, she's doing such wonderful work. It's that one shot.
Yeah.
And it could have been like just that one take. She might have done it better in multiple other takes. And that was the take they picked. And I'm sure she looked at it. She was like, "Seriously, guys?"
Oh,
She's like, "I'm Olivier Award-winning Eleanor Worthington Cox. You were going to give me that shot?"
Valid.
Okay. So, as we said, Next to Normal did win the Pulitzer. It also won 3 Tony Awards for score, actress, and tied for orchestrations with Billy Elliot, one of the few ties in Tony Award history.
Sure.
Okay, fine. Closed January 2011 after 733 performances. As we mentioned, it had a national tour, also with Alice Ripley. 2017, Theatre Works Hartford with Christiane Knoll. 2020, Kennedy Center with Rachel Bay Jones and Brenda Victor Dixon. This is clearly the show that caused COVID.
Yeah.
And then the West
January
End.
January 2020.
Yeah. The thing about this show in terms of its legacy is that whereas it's sort of the inverse of Light in the Piazza, where Adam and I were saying, like, Piazza as a show hasn't really affected musical theater. Not a lot of people have tried to make another Piazza or something similar to it, but the people involved with Piazza have created a legacy. Like, Piazza created a legacy because of the people involved. And I personally find Next Normal is kind of the opposite, where it's like the show has a major legacy and it had a major impact on writing and subject matter. And yet I find that a lot of the people involved a little less so. The biggest impact in terms of people involved is probably Aaron Tveit. Like, this is the show that really fucking launched him. And his lack of a Tony nomination was a thing that people really screamed about at the time. And, Michael Greif remains a very prominent director in musical theater, but, it's this, Evan Hansen. But before either show, he had Rent, which is sort of a blank check forever. He had Grey Garden. So that's not even really a launching point. It's a launching point for Tom Kidd and Brian Yorkey. And yet, shall we talk?
That collaboration, yeah.
I
saw Superhero. What's it called? Superhero.
That's at, where was that? That's
Second Stage.
Yeah. They also have If Then, which is probably their biggest post Next Normal success, and I wouldn't personally call that one a success. Sliding Doors the musical. God, I'll never forget the opening of Act 2 where Idina Menzel comes on and she's singing like stage directions where she's like standing on a corner opposite of a wedding on 37th and Amsterdam, or whatever the fuck the lyrics are. Where she's like singing the street address of what's across the street. I'm like, can we not do that? They did rewrite the Freaky Friday musical for Disney, which Disney liked enough to license and make into a TV movie with Heidi Blickenstaff. I feel like Heidi has done Next to Normal somewhere.
She has to have. Yeah.
They wrote the musical adaptation of The Visitor at the Public, which went nowhere and had a lot of drama behind it.
Yep.
Kit has also done Bring It On and Almost Famous, Flying Over Sunset, Dave. And so Tom Kidd has had a lot more success post Next to Normal as an arranger and as a music supervisor, which is also what he was doing before Next to Normal. And I do think that's where a lot of his talent lies, in taking a lot of music and making it one big cohesive storytelling sound. But considering how wonderful this score is, Next to Normal, it is kind of it's frustrating that this collaboration has not yielded more consistent results. But I mean, I feel the same way about Grey Garden. So when I do that deep dive, get ready, everybody.
Whoo! Yeah. Yeah. I wish that, look, I was fine with If Then. Now. But yeah, I don't remember anything about Superhero other than Kate Baldwin being wonderful and Tom Sesma being great.
That's all I remember. Great.
Tom Sesma's always great.
Why are people not talking about Tom Sesma more, Brian Nash?
I don't know. Because he's never been given, like, he is the perfect, like, secondary lead or, like, random, like, character actor.
Sure.
And they never get the glory that they need.
Still,
but Tom Sesma is brilliant and reliable in fucking everything.
Yeah. Still my favorite Sweeney that I've seen live.
Oh, yeah. I forgot he did that.
Yeah, I think he was the last one. I saw him and Sally and Triplet do it twice in the Pie Shop, and they were incredible. Yeah, that's sort of where we are with Next to Normal. I guess with Spring Awakening and Next to Normal combined, it becomes this big step forward with rock music and musical theater, and we do have a lot more of it now. I would argue never quite as successfully as this. It starts leaning more into pop and like, with Dear Evan Hansen, it becomes like, okay, now we get radio hits and songs that can work outside of context. Because the thing about Next Normal is, other than I Miss the Mountains, I really don't think any song works out of context. They're wonderful songs to listen to, but I don't think that they don't land quite as well in like a showcase. Like I was at Thespians this past year, and 2 years ago, and a girl sang So Anyway, the song that Diana sings when she leaves, and she did a lovely job, but I was like, why this?
Yeah, it's a lovely piece vocally, but it's not going to hit if you're not coming out of the rest of the 2 hours of the show.
Yeah, there are things in this show that I would recommend for like class. If you have 3 actors who want to do the You Don't Know, I Am the One, want to do that for class, like to work on it, I say fucking go for it. But maybe for like Thespians, maybe, because it's hard to do musical scenes in Thespians that work out of context. But yeah, if you want to like do Superboy and the Invisible Girl as a duet for, a concert, I'm sorry, it just doesn't work.
It's 2 minutes and you're wasting your time.
And it's a duet for the last 20 seconds.
Yeah. Yep. No reason.
Yeah. Anyway, Brian, thank you so much for doing this today.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Any last words on Next Normal before we wrap shit up?
Look, I'm glad that they took the time to get it right. They took the time to really lean into what the material was actually saying instead of what they wanted to say about the material initially and about the subject. If you're writing a musical about deep things, lean the fuck in.
I love that. I think if you're going to do Next to Normal, make sure you cast actors, like actors. And this is one of those shows, like for me, like She's a Wild Party, where I'm like, you need an intimacy coordinator and you need a therapist on set.
Yep. There needs to be a therapy dog in the room.
Because it's a tough one, and if you're going to do it right, you're going to have to go for it. This is not a show you mark. Well, Brian, where can people find you if you want them to find you?
I can be found on the Instagrams at Brian with an I.J. Nash. That's about it. I have not updated my website since COVID.
No.
Don't bother.
Are you doing any shows in town soon?
Soon. I don't know. I've got to book them.
Okay.
So shortly, I'll post it there.
Brian's shows are fun, guys. He did one at Green Room 42 recently. That was a fuck ton of fun. So if he ever is doing one, I highly recommend you go. If you want to find me, I'm on Instagram at Matt Koplik, usual spelling. Make sure to join the Patreon if you haven't yet to become a company member for $5 a month. You will get your sneak preview of our first exclusive episode next week, the top 50 opening numbers in musical theater history. If you like the podcast, make sure to give us a nice 5-star rating or review. They always help with the algorithm. You can watch us on YouTube if you'd like. Anything else? Discord if you want to join the Discord or the Substack. Otherwise, we will be going dark for most of August. We have a couple of fun surprises that may be popping up throughout August, some fun interviews and whatnot. But yeah, we will be coming back in earnest probably mid-September, maybe after. Yeah, I think the first real episode back will be my London trip because I'm going back to London in September.
Ooh, field trips. Who's Ernest?
Who's Ernest?
You said you're going to be coming back in earnest.
In earnest. Oh,
you're trying to pretend you're a top, so
I will punch you in the face.
You knew I was going to bring it back before the end of the episode. You
I honestly
got to do
did
a callback. You didn't see it coming? Anyway, like, if we're going to talk about a depressing-ass show, we need to, like, leaven it by the end. Next show that we do needs to be something fun. Because, Jesus Christ.
First of all, Hamilton and I'd never found to be a depressing show. That was just a depressing day. This is definitely a depressing show.
Sure, yeah, he gets shot at the end and then we're crying about an orphanage. Yeah, it's a real fucking toe tapper.
Well, yeah, I'm like, yeah, children need to go somewhere where I don't have to see them. An orphanage. Thank you for your help, Eliza Hamilton. This was not a depressing day. This was a very fun day for a very sad show, and I'm sure there are a lot of fans who are going to be furious that this wasn't 3 straight hours of only the show. But fuck you all. This is the last episode for a minute, so I just wanted to have some fun. But yeah, no, okay, fine. The next show you do will be, I don't know, Spamalot
of the I Sing.
Fiorello. Your next show is going to be Fiorello. You're welcome.
No, thanks.
Okay. Brian, we close out every episode with a diva. What diva do you want to close us out with today?
Let us go back to Workshop Diana Goodman and go back to Sherry Renee Scott.
Always. I think we've closed out with Sherry more times this year than combined Sherry closeouts in like previous years. And I'm not mad about it at all.
She's in the zeitgeist. She's back, you guys.
She really is. I think we'll close out with Poor Unfortunate Souls this time because I don't think we've ever done that. Oh, God, she's amazing. All right. Thank you so much, guys. We'll see you soon. Enjoy the preview next week and then have a good rest of your August. Take it away, Sherry. Bye.
Now I got a voice. The boss is on a roll.